Oh, good.
Friends, hello. July 1st.
Oh, God, dude. Please don't send me back to winter.
It's episode, where would we have been in January? So if today is 2/16, in January, we would have been way back at like episode 210.
Oh, God. Those guys were lazy. We don't need to be back there.
That's my way of telling jokes about not ever doing shows. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Virtual Stranger Show. I am your host, Wes. With me, as most of the time is the case, is my good friend Ruuts. Ruuts, I missed you, friend.
Yeah, it's been a bit, actually. Yeah, most of the time. I only missed a couple of shows, I think, throughout the whole entirety. And I think that might have been the only first time you've done a solo. But that's crazy, right? And if I wouldn't have gone to bed early and seen that MASH had crashed early as well, because he had been doing his thing, I would have been there. But
I appreciate that. No, we could have waited on Eric. So he was supposed to be my partner so that we could have a show this Saturday, and we didn't have to skip 2 weeks in a row, which is like you might as well just take a month off if you're going to do that. But you know, he's in Florida. He's out with his family. They were out late. He came in. He was tired. And he's like, "Well, we can just go tomorrow." I thought, okay, well, tomorrow morning we'll do one. And then he's like, tomorrow night, and I'm like, we'll do one Sunday night and then do another one, you know, Monday afternoon. And at that point, I was ready, man. I had the scene set up. I had everything ready to go, and I said, well, you know what? I can do this. You know, I just have to change a couple things to take Eric out of the picture and just make it just me. And so that's what I did. And everything worked fairly well. I mean, I didn't have any trouble, like technical issues.
oh, good.
Like I even streamed Riven, which is a highly demanding PCVR game. I streamed it on my MetaQuest 3 using Link with the microphone and the headphones and everything through the headset. It all worked just the way it was supposed to work. It was the craziest thing.
Yeah, technology. That's why we're late, right? Some things aren't working. Like usually Wes can see me right now through the Discord, but it won't let him see me, like that picture. And so we spent like 15 minutes trying to get that to work, and that's not working. But that's awesome. I'm glad that everything went good. Not been into Riven. It looks good. It looks like it's, from what I'm hearing, it's the best of the games for that or from that company, right? From Cyan.
It's pretty good, man. I mean, it still is what it is. It's still a Cyan VR adaptation, so your hands are still going to pass through everything. It's not got like one-to-one VR physics in it or anything like that. You can interact with things you're supposed to interact with, and you can't interact with things you're not supposed to. But the world is beautiful. It is huge. Like it is a huge world to explore. The puzzles are challenging, and there's something I know you're just going to absolutely love about it, Ruuts, and that's the way you traverse. Like you're like on this island, and the way you get around this island is by getting into these carts and riding rails, like roller coaster style. So like you ride from island to island over the ocean on a twisty turny roller coaster ride. And then even like on the islands themselves, there's like a smaller like mine cart where you get in a mine cart and you go underground and stuff. One of them takes you like under the ocean through a tunnel. I know you dig that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
I thought about you every time I did. I thought, man, Ruuts is going to really dig this.
Yeah, that makes me want to go do it now. You know what's funny is that's like legitimately something that I could say that from a flat gamer's perspective, it wouldn't be anywhere near what it would be in VR, right? Like there's a lot of things that can translate flat, but there's so many things that can't, and I don't think that would at all. So it sounds cool.
Now, that is the cool thing. And it's kind of like the promise of VR, right? Like, you know, a lot of things from VR don't translate flat, but a lot of things from flat translate wonderfully to VR. And it's stuff that we always thought, like, man, it would be awesome if I were in the game right here. And this is just proof positive. of that. It's another one of those instances. We don't see it all the time, but we do see it from time to time where I cover a game, I'm done covering it, and I don't want to be done playing it. Like everything tells me I need to move on here because there's other stuff to play. But I don't want to move on yet, man. I just cracked the surface on this one. Um,
Do you
my
have
saving
one
gra-
game, Wes? I think you should have one game on the side as you're doing everything else that you say that I'm going to play this game every week. I'm going to spend some time in this and I'm going to do everything else. And, like with the saying this was the game. And then you just keep coming back to this every so often. That way you can, because that's one of the most frustrating thing about what we do is we are bouncing around so many games that you taste a lot of things, but you don't get to really enjoy anything because it's constantly moving on to the next one. So.
I have the intention of having that game, and this is something we've talked about recently. Is there are certain mods, VR mods, games that we want to play, not just to cover on the show, but because they're awesome and we want to spend some time in them. So we've kind of internally decided together that we would agree on one of these games and just stick to it and play it until we're ready to cover it. Right now, that game is I think GTA 5 was what we decided. I still haven't played it once. I haven't booted it.
I have
We
not.
decided this was like 3 weeks ago.
You know what's ironic? I have not either. I tried to go in and it was giving me issues. So I'm gonna have to probably troubleshoot and try to figure out why it's not working. But I did go back to Red Dead 2 and I booted right in and I ran around and played for like an hour. And I don't know why I've got the magical copy of Red Dead or what is different outside of the fact that it's on the Rockstar account, I believe is the one I have. And that's what I play it on. And so maybe that version there was a different way of doing it that preserved it or locked it in, or I don't know. Because it's 2 years old. I literally took it from an old drive and moved it over and just opened it from there and it worked.
See, so
Like
this is what I've been wondering to myself is could we just copy your game folder? Like if we own the rights to the game, right? So that we have the license for it and the Rockstar launcher isn't going to give us a hard time for trying to play it. Could I just copy your Red Dead folder over mine and have it work?
if it was
I'm sure.
if it was the Rockstar one, 100%. There's one caveat, and I don't mind doing it. It's like the whole thing is like 90 gigs, or I mean, it's a shitload of
Oh yeah,
space.
yeah.
So and I don't think, and maybe there's a way to be able to send that. I think you're limited in what you can send Discord or even
We
through
would
the
it'd have to
drive,
be on Google Drive
right?
or one or the cloud or whatever.
Right. So if we could get enough space for that, yes. Or I could get a zip USB and then mail it. But I guarantee it would work because that's all I did. All I did was move it from one drive to the next. And then what I did is when I went to open up the game, I directed it to that folder and it just installed a tiny bit and then it worked. And
Let me
so
ask you this: so last time we tried to do Red Dead, um, it worked for a minute and then it ended up crashing on me. And the way that I installed it was by following a tutorial online. And basically, what the tutorial had me do was fiddle around with some stuff to roll back the version of the game, and then manually it installed the old Lucross mod on it. I assumed that this is how it had to be done because of updates to the game itself, and that the old Lucross mod wouldn't work on the current version of the game. That's just an assumption, though. I have the old Lucross mod. I have Lucross mod version 4 that worked on Red Dead. I have not just simply tried to install that on it yet to see if it works. Do we know that the old mod won't work if we try to put it on the newest version of the game?
there was something that was happening and it would happen sporadically. And if I remember correctly, whatever they did rolling it back changed that because there's something that it's like And I can't remember what triggers it either. It'll just crash on you multiple
That's what
times.
I'm having. That's the problem that I'm having is that it just crashed. Well, I mean, not initially. So initially it worked, but I had trouble when I got to a demanding scene. It got really choppy.
Mm.
So I stopped it and I changed some settings. And when I changed those settings and changed my headset, it just wouldn't boot at all. And then I changed my settings back and switched back to the original headset, and it still wouldn't boot at all. So right now I'm sitting on a clean install. I went ahead and deleted it, got rid of all the residual files, and went through the trouble of re-downloading it. And I'm sitting on a new clean install right now, and I'm trying to decide what direction I should go with it. Should I try to refollow that tutorial and go that way about it, or should I just try to apply my old Luke Ross mod on it, which has always worked for me before, and see what happens? Now the other caveat is I own the game on Epic Game Store. I own the game on Steam. I don't have the version that you have, which is just the Rockstar store version, and maybe that would make some sort of difference. Um, but it's kind of expensive to
Three
to keep
times.
picking it up, trying to play. I would gladly do it. Like it's one of the best games ever made. I would pay $200 to be able to get a version that runs in VR. Like that's not a question. But to just have a chance that it might work,
Mm.
that's a little bit weird for me and hard to justify.
Well, I would imagine it has. I mean, it doesn't have to work, but I mean, the Rockstar version, if you had the same folder and it was just like I did, just moving it over and then directing it to it, and then it worked. The only way that I could see if it didn't was the other theory I had that somehow whatever is happening with the crash is VRAM related, and the VRAM is just not enough. Like even D's was crashing as well, and maybe
Well,
24 is enough to keep it from happening because I don't get the crash anymore.
possible. That's
So
possible. Now we should, if that's the case, we should be able to control that through the in-game settings. You just got to turn your
it's true. Turn stuff down, right?
yeah,
Graphically.
turn down the detail on your textures, and it will even moving down one notch on that from like high to medium would probably knock 3 or 4 gigabytes off of the VRAM. Um,
It's
so
worth
that
it.
might be it. You
It's
know,
the
when they
best.
tell you to set up UEVR, they tell you to start the games at low and then work up instead of
Mm.
starting at high and working down. So maybe that's what I should do in theory here is just install it, turn everything all the way down, and then incrementally turn things up until I find how far I can go without killing my performance.
Well, UEVR is crazy. They were not coming from a 4090 perspective. Because I come from the opposite direction. I'm like, I just hit. I actually, I most of the time I don't even have to turn everything up. Everything's all the way up because it's like it has so much room to breathe, right?
I
So
just found out this last week that there's like there's something built into UEVR that works kind of like a DLSS or an FSR. If the games that you have don't use any kind of AI upscaling like that, there's something in the UEVR console, the console CVARs, that you can enable that does something like that. I don't know technically what it does, but there's something for you to use to gain a pretty good chunk of performance just
mm.
by enabling it. Um, I know I've been talking to AJ a lot, and AJ is he's got the PCVR bug, man. He's been playing nothing but UEVR pretty much solid for the last 6 weeks. And I mean, he's running on a mid tier PC with a 4060 in it, and he's put in the work to learn how to like really optimize in UEVR, and like he's running games that I've had trouble running, like Returnal, for example. He's
Mm.
running Returnal smoothly on his rig, and his rig's not as strong as mine. So like, there's a
What is a
lot to be
what's a
learned with it.
what's a 4060 equivalent to though? And I know it's the newer generation and stuff. Would that be more equivalent to like
It's a 8 gig. It's got 8 gigs of VRAM in it, if I'm not
Oh God.
mistaken. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
not it's not a premium um, thing. And the typical equivalent is the previous generation's next tier up. So a
So three
4060 would be a
37.
3070, which would be a 2080. You
Mm.
know,
Well, I'll tell you what. I was thinking about this earlier because of one of the comments that we'll be talking about later. But I was thinking about like I'm just glad I somehow, well, I give all credit to God. Like he just like laid this whole thing out in front of me, had me picking stuff up, and it just like happened, swooped. All of a sudden I had this amazing computer, and right before the time when I needed it, because this like these UEVR mods and everything, like I'm watching everybody scrambling, chasing the dragon PD, and everybody's trying to get this because everybody's been playing these games and struggling, or not everybody, but and I just am so glad that I was able to like jump in from day one, just fully loaded, ready to go. And it's just cool, you know. I just
yeah,
feel blessed.
yeah, sounds awesome, man. And I have already begun my saving spree to for my next upgrade, and I'm sure it will take me quite some time to get there, but it has begun. And unless something else comes out between now and then, it will be on a graphics card. Uh, Now, with that said, um, there's likely going to be a headset or two come out before I have a chance to spin this on a graphics card. So I'm sure I'll be tempted to pull from the well. With that in mind, let me thank Grandpa Barbecuer Gamecat, who just donated $10 Australian. Says Roots, all the best to you. Hang in there, bud. So
It-
well wishes from Grandpa Barbecuer, and you've gotten quite a few of those in the comments, both on YouTube and Discord over the last week to 10 days.
yeah, I appreciate everybody. I've been a little MIA. My dad last week woke up in the middle of the night having a seizure. Was intubated for like 3 or 4 days. They kept putting him under, coming out, and it was just a nightmare. But he's woke up now, has his memory back, and they don't. Nothing's wrong with him, Wes. Yeah, like we don't know. Like we don't know what happened.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it. So hopefully it was like a one-time thing. Uh, so, but
Did he? I don't want to better be careful what I say here. Did he get
he,
stuck
yeah, he
in the
did.
arm?
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
a couple times. So,
Yeah.
like it is what it is. I tried to warn people, but and everybody believes what they want to believe. But I'm just glad I
Well, thank
didn't.
God he did. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. YouTube, we're so happy. Actually, that's not even against YouTube's things anymore. I don't think.
I don't know. I don't know what
I
to
don't
say.
keep up with it. So
Anyway, thank you, Grandpa Barbecuer, for the well
appreciate it.
wishes, and thank you for the donation. Um, like I was saying, Roots, a headset might come out between now and then, and when I start thinking about what sort of things would tempt me to buy a headset right now, because I'm pretty happy with the ones I've got
Mm.
visually. You know, my G2 looks awesome. Next month, I'm going to be able to play my PSVR 2, and then Quest 3 looks great as well. So, what kind of new features would tempt me to investing in a new headset? And then I read an article like this that says that there's evidence out there now, Roots, that the next generation Quest Pro is going to feature, finally feature the varifocal lenses that we've been waiting for pretty much since we started this channel. We've been talking about varifocal lenses literally since day one, because Meta's been telling us that they're coming in 2 or 3 years the whole time. But it seems like that might finally be the case, Roots, that we might finally be getting our varifocal lenses. And that's a hard thing to pass up for me, because this is a feature that's so fundamentally different than the things that typically get integrated
Mm.
into VR headsets. This is going to be something that's hard to notice just by looking at AB, but you're going to just be able to tell that things feel more real for some reason.
Right.
And
Less eye strain.
I think, yeah, it's a significant thing, not just for those of us who are enthusiasts, but it's a significant thing for the industry because if I understand correctly, this should basically eliminate the age limit on VR. Like children are already playing VR because parents don't give a shit and they just let people let their kids do what they want. But this will make it to where it's actually not detrimental to the development of your children. It's not going to harm their eyes.
Or our
So it's a
eyes.
pretty awesome thing.
Because
Or our eyes,
this
exactly.
is the thing. This is the reality. We're only like less than a decade in. And everyone's like, it's fine. And maybe it is. And it probably is. But maybe it's not. And this is actually a good thing. My only hesitation, well, I have many hesitations. But my biggest hesitation is like, when is this release? Because if this releases like in a year or so, I would be really, really scared to pick up a Quest Pro 2. Because now it's like a year and a half past the Quest 3. Get where I'm going. They've done this before. They'll fuck you too. So unless this comes out pretty soon here, I'm not rushing to get out there. They've already shown me what they'll do to the Quest Pro people. Guess what? You're going to overpay for this. And then they're going to bend you over. They're going to fuck you. And they're going to say, oh, we're not going to let you play the newest game. It's only Quest 4. We're so sorry. It's last generation. You should have known, Wes. And it'll be a cop out then, just like it is now.
Well, I can tell you definitively that if the Quest Pro 2 comes out and it has the exact same chipset in it that the Quest 3 does, then I'm not going to go spend thousands of dollars on it.
I wouldn't. That's for sure. I would not.
I might could be convinced if it had like a hard display port in it, and you know if it's like $1,500 to $2,000, and it's got this next level 4K per eye display, varifocal lenses, and yeah, it's still running an XR2 Gen 2, but it is also able to run native PCVR. Maybe I would go for that. But if it's just like the last Quest Pro, where it's just running the same chipset and has a few extra features tacked on, no, there's no way I would go for that.
Yeah.
Because of exactly what you're saying right now. Because I'm going to get left out of the next generation of games.
Yeah, because they've already shown their hand, or at least they did to me, how they view their base, their player base, so or their audience, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I think it's cool. What's the good news is, maybe Meta leads the way, but varifocal lenses will not be a Meta exclusive. Once everybody's using it or doing it, everybody will be putting them in there, and that's probably when I'll be.
Well, here's the thing. Like the varifocal technology has many iterations out there. The one that Meta has, the refined third version of it, I'm not sure that's not going to be patented technology. The electric varifocal that uses layered crystal LED to do it, like the older varifocal prototypes, have lens stacks in them, and they just physically move the lenses from in front of each other to generate these different focal lengths. It's like a noisy thing. It's very bulky, and that's why it never really made it into a consumer product. The most recent prototypes though don't work like that. That they're basically, the lenses in these things are about the same thickness of a regular VR lens, but they have like micro layers in there, and by applying different voltages to it, it changes the focal length of the light that's going through it. So basically, it's having the same effect as having the stack of 8 lenses on top of one another, but it's only the thickness of a single lens. It's pretty remarkable. Honestly.
Still a Meta product though, right?
Still a Meta product.
Fuck you, Meta. Fuck you.
Maybe, but since they opened up the Quest platform to other manufacturers, like they just announced 6 weeks ago, maybe they would license that technology out too. I mean, they're licensing out their software to these other manufacturers to make different versions of Quest. Maybe they would license out their Varifocal tech too for someone else that's making a Quest headset.
That's very possible. Fluke Rogi was saying that they were that Meta wouldn't make that mistake again with the next gen, and I don't think it was a mistake to them. I don't think they even know that it was even a problem, because most people aren't even fucking bitching about it. People just run out and get the next headset. Like, I'm one of the few people that seems to actually be outraged about it. So that I've seen. I guess I'm just tired of being taken advantage of by companies. And when I feel like I've gotten screwed, I have a very small threshold for what I'll put up with. And it was building for years, and then this was just the final straw. So hopefully it will be somebody else, but I don't know. I just don't think that they would consider that a mistake in the long run for what they did. Maybe they would use a new chipset, and maybe they won't, and maybe people would still buy it depending on how much is charging, depending on like Wes said, the features, whether it's got anything that makes you want to use it besides varifocal lenses. So
it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I do think that Quest Pro 2 will be much more compelling than Quest Pro 1, just based on the fact that they're trying to compete with Apple now for the high-end space. So I think they might come with something legit. Now,
hopefully.
My question is how much will gamers benefit from what they're bringing to that headset? They might, make some great workstation and lifestyle headset that really doesn't give you any real benefit when it comes to gaming. And then, of course, it won't have any kind of application in my life.
And then they'll use that as an excuse to say it's not a gaming headset, even though everybody said the last one didn't do any of the shit that it was supposed to really do. It was absolutely a gaming headset. And it's just a cop out. It's like HTC being business. It's like we want to have something attached to it so that we can tell you that's why we're charging $1,500 for $1,000 headset. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's historically been always been the go-to reason when we see something that we feel might be overpriced, right? Well, it's not for you.
Yeah.
It's for people that work in VR.
But this is exciting. I do agree. Varifocal lenses is exciting for VR. It is the next step for not only making things seem more realistic, not harming your eyes, but it's like I've said in the past, the strain on your eyes that makes you feel tired or get, not be able to stay in a headset for 12 hours. I can play flat gaming 3 times as long as I can for VR. And I can play VR for a long time, but I just don't feel tired when I'm flat, because it's not straining my eyes the same way. And so I think it'll be a big deal to have that actual function like your real eyes, and it will make it feel like things are more realistic. So
people in the chat talking about GTA San Andreas. A little bit of news in that Memoreum email about that today. Apparently, Meta posted some sort of a gameplay trailer or something on their channel. Somebody commented on it, asking about the release date or whether or not San Andreas VR was canceled. And they actually got a reply from someone at Meta saying that they can't announce the release date yet.
It's still in the works?
But they're working on it. Well, here's the caveat. They deleted the comment after they said it. So I don't know if this was just some doofus running the YouTube account, giving some canned answer and then realizing that they were saying more than they intended to say, or if this was legit information. They got pulled back.
Are we sure it's the actual account and not like a spoof account or something?
Oh no, it was the actual account.
Okay.
It was the original poster that put the video up.
It would make sense that they, we've seen what came out on Quest 2 and what could be done with the limitations of Quest 3. So maybe that's one of the next games that comes out for Quest 3.
That's true.
Who knows? I mean, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would make sense. If it was a Quest 3 exclusive, it would make sense for them to stop talking about it until the era arrives where we're starting to get Quest 3 exclusives, right?
Right. Maybe it
If they're
drops when Quest 3 Lite comes out or whatever.
exactly. If
You
they were
know.
hyping this thing all through the last year and then it comes out and doesn't support Quest 2, then people might get pissed off about that. If they wait till this Christmas after there's a affordable Quest 3 out there, um, then it could generate some excitement and sell headsets. They're going to need something
Mm.
to sell headsets more than just having the price at $299, because you can get Quest 2s right now for $199. Um, so I mean, it's going to take more
Pancake lens.
than
Oh, never mind.
yeah, yeah.
See, the best thing about it is gone. So it really would be. I mean, what's the point? The resolution's a little bit better. It is a better chip, and of course the mixed reality, but it's $100 cheaper. But I think you're right. That could be a good seller headsets. So
Yep. They need a game to sell it though, and what would sell more than Grand Theft Auto VR? Not many things.
yep.
W-
Left Control Gaming says GTA 4 would have been better, and I have to agree 100%. Nico, yeah, Vice City, that was such a good one, man. I think to me, 4 and 5 were the best, but
GTA 5 would have been even better. Why
yeah,
have you forsaken us, Sony? You were supposed to make it happen this generation.
yeah, it's coming.
Anyway, I'll touch on one more thing from the meta rumor reel before we say hello to our friends in chat, because it was quite busy this week. Apparently, there's even more evidence now, Roots, that Meta is still working on cloud gaming, just like we said that they were. It's been quiet for a while, but we've seen some instances now of the Avalanche program popping back up in the ether out there.
Mm.
And apparently, the Lone Echo will be a title that can possibly be played. And what was the other one? Stormland, maybe, or Asgard's Wrath? I think it was Asgard's Wrath. Games playable through the cloud. And we've been saying this all along that this is 100% the direction that they're going to go to. This is going to be the event that brings back fully high-end VR games. Once cloud streaming becomes the norm, then it doesn't matter. The chipset in the headset's not going to matter so much anymore, because the game's going to be running in the cloud somewhere. But we tried Pluto Sphere 2 years ago, Roots, and it was very, very usable at that point
Mm.
through a third party. I got to imagine that Meta's version of that in 2024 is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and who knows what what AI is adding to the deal? Like I see so much,
Right.
so much news and so many things. I said this before, but legitimately that are being invented, new materials, extending how much a solar cell can hold, and all sorts of shit, dude. And we're so new into it. I guarantee that that's something that is going to be big. I was just thinking. I was wondering if because I'm pretty sure I was wondering if the Avalanche crypto has something to do with that program. I see that connection, and if so, that might be not advice, but might be a good crypto to invest in.
There you go. Lord Beavis wants to know what I'm puffing on. I'm puffing on Mr. Fog Peach Apricot Ice. It's nicotine, bro.
I want Mr. Puff, but that happens during the trailer or during the movie or trailers, yeah. So.
Well, with that in mind, why don't we say hello to our friends in chat so we can get around to playing some trailers for these good people. Looper's here. He says, well, DLSS is AI. In fact, it is.
True.
There's AI being integrated everywhere these days. Left Control Gaming's here. Mr. Lord Beavis is here. Distracted here as well. By Lovesick. That Dank Cheese here. Steve is here. What up, Steve? More VR in the house. Space Dennison, Island Kara, Fluke Rogi. Ezeka's here. What up? Ghost Shots here. Silver Nexus, Game Cat, Photo Nutter. All in the house today. Q Creators here. Samson 143VR is here. Scott's Wild Camper joining us as well. Patty Cat is here. Prophecy 777 is here. James is here. Hooked Worm, the Hoosier Game Cat is here. Chinatown D, what up, D? Good to see you. Traveling Man 3775, VR SpryGuy is here. Happy birthday, SpryGuy. Alehimbe D Catalurgic Game Cat is here. He says, Roots, glad to have you back.
Me too.
Arlen of the Arc Reactor is here. Mark Smith is here. Bad Robo is here. Grandpa Barbecuer Game Cat here as well. Diz the Game Cat is here. 12 the Backlogged Game Cat is here. Awesome Tatum, Robbie Y, Virtual Slayer Cat, Detective Holmes. Check, and check. Techno Glitch is here as well. Paper Wings the Game Cat says 1:20 a.m. Got the flu.
Ooh.
Can't sleep, but at least I can listen to you guys. I hope you feel better. That sucks.
I'm gonna put out there that you're gonna start miraculously feeling better in the morning.
I'm gonna say during the show.
Yes.
You're gonna finish this episode with a smile on your face. You're gonna nod off, and when you wake up tomorrow, you're not going to be completely cured, but you're going to be better than you were the day before when you woke up.
That's true.
Michael Verheyen is here. I'm ready. Let's go. Hi, everybody. Hi, Michael. Or Michelle. Let's see. Anyone else here? Like True Prophecy 22 is here. That Dank Cheese Mad Vegan is here. Ryan B. Evan Yabu, Berber Cat, all here. And Four Wheelin' and Radio Runt, and that is it. You know, everybody's birthdays this month, Roots. Like I had a birthday. Traveling Man had a birthday. VR SpryGuy had a birthday. It was Mr. Lord Beavis's birthday on my birthday.
Oh, wow.
And yesterday was Tribe Grey Wolf. It was his birthday as well.
Well, that's crazy. I'm 2 months away from my birthday, so. And
I know there's more out there than I'm forgetting, so happy birthday to all of you cancers out there. People say we're a cancer on society. No, we're just, that's
just cancer.
Sign, right?
Yeah.
We're just cancer.
But it's a new month, July 1st. Can you believe it? You know, it's funny. I was telling somebody the other day, time seems like it's flying by to everybody that I talk to, myself included, right? Which was great. When it was wintertime, I was like, fuck yeah, dude, fly by. Now it's like summer, and I'm like, whoa, slow down, bro. Like, it's already July, dude. We're already halfway through, and I feel like I've already missed half of it. I'm like, what the hell? Crazy.
It's going so quickly that I'm still coming to terms with my new computer. My new computer that I built 7 months ago. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
Like I'm still kind of getting all of that ironed out. But that, like, before I know it, I'm going to be upgrading it again. Like I'm talking about upgrading it now. The next time we have this conversation, I'll be upgrading it, and we'll be like, where the hell did that 6 months ago?
That's crazy. And you're going to have a beast of a computer, and you're going to be like, yes. Although I still say it's a beast of a computer. I've had a 3080 Ti, and it's really good.
I've got an awesome computer. It's just, you know how it is. Once you start down this road, the best is the only way, right? Like, there's always more that you can do unless you have the top thing.
And then you could still, like, I could go out and I could get a KS or something. Like, some people just get ridiculous, and you know, the way I justify it, at least when I upgrade, is I give away my old computer to somebody, and then they get something good, and then I upgrade, and everybody wins. So
I need a streaming computer too. That's the other thing. Like getting a graphics card upgrade to be able to play high-end flat games in VR is one thing. But if I'm going to stream those games, it's going to take away like the performance I just paid to get.
No,
right?
Well, this is the thing. At least depending on the cards, and I would imagine the 5080 is going to be equivalent to 4090, you know, or I don't know. I know that the card I have, and probably the card D has, the 4080 series, it's the streaming amount compared, because it's so powerful, and you're never using that full card. I mean, even when you are using it, it's never really affected anything. So I don't know that your next card will be an issue. A lot of channels that I've seen that used to recommend a 2 computer setup are starting to recommend going back to 1 because the cards are getting so powerful that it almost becomes more of a hindrance in some ways. But you may get to a point where that might not be the case. I don't know.
But Dee says she wants to do co-op Returnal with me and UEVR. I'm down. I've been
You should
talking about the
stream it.
same thing with AJ. I've got to get it dialed in though, like the way he has it dialed in. So he had it to where he was almost smooth 60 frames per second with it through Link. He only got a hitch every now and then, and this is, mind you, with certain graphics settings turned up on Epic, right? He quit using Link and went to Virtual Desktop, and it's perfect now. He doesn't ever get a hitch at all.
Whatever Guy does, I'm telling you, his software is superior. I still recommend it over just about anything else.
Well, what Virtual Desktop does is it uses a type of reprojection that's similar to Meta's reprojection. So it's not actually running more frames; it's running less frames. That's why it's so smooth. It's just it's reprojection that you don't hardly notice. It's
right.
Space warp. It's basically using space warp, which is great. Which I don't care about reprojection if you can't tell it, right?
Absolutely.
If you can't tell that there's any problems, there's no artifacts, then that reprojection is a wonderful thing.
It's not even a reprojection, in my opinion. Mischievous Marcio, the Underground Gamecast, says, if I remember correctly, the 4,000 higher end cards have dual encoders, so you can stream while gaming. And
there you go.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure that the 5080 will as well. And so if that's the case, then it'd be better to not.
So will it be a 5080 or a 4090? That depends on when I hit my number. Like if I get up to like where I have $1,200 and $1,300 sitting, and I guess I would need a little more than that, 1,400 probably I would need. And we still don't know when that 50 series is coming. I might just go ahead and pull the trigger.
Yeah.
But if it's within sight, like I'll wait. I'll wait 3 or 4 months to get a newer generation. It just depends on how quick I can get my funding up.
I don't think people are going to. I think by the end of the year is very unrealistic for people to expect them to drop and be able to get them. They may actually have a release, but I feel like most people, unless you're going to pay out of your ass, you're not going to get them. So
yeah, I'm not. It would be the end of the year at the earliest before I even have the money to do it. So anyway, let's catch our slippies as they slip through the door. People like Alex VR, Salt of the Earth, good people coming in. Mischievous Marcio, the Underground Game Cat, as well. Let's see, Game Cat Behemoth, Paper Wings, the Game Cat, Roy Schwartz, Scott, the PSVR Game Cat for life, Tipsy Sonic, Mal, all slipping in here, and I believe that's it.
Hey, my daughter got a 4070 Ti Super the other day. I gave her my old computer that D had gotten, and then I got back. And then all she had to do was get a hard drive and buy the video card. And so
that's
now
awesome. Let me tell you what, man, that's an awesome card. That is 100% where the value is at right now in graphics cards. 4070 is the way to go. You can get one of those things for like $600, $700.
Well, this is the 4070 Ti Super. It was 800. But it's 16 gigabytes, and right. I mean it's definitely, to me, worth the cost, and that's why I directed her towards that one. So she was sick of everything she plays was lagging. She said she has not even a gaming laptop, but now she's got a rocking computer. So
Alex VR says he's stalking Beavis.
Who isn't stalking Beavis these days?
Roots, it's never a good time to take a week off, but let me tell you, man, if you had to pick one to take off, last week wasn't the worst one in the world to take off. Not much news in VR land. In fact, all there was the Upload VR showcase. That was it. That was basically it, and that's why basically our whole show today is the Upload VR showcase. There hasn't really been anything other than that to talk about. Um, I don't even have a what's coming out this week segment in today's lineup because there's only 3 games coming out across all platforms this week, and they all suck. I haven't played them, but I can tell you by looking at them that they suck, and I don't want to talk about them, so we just cut that segment. But thank God for Upload VR Showcase, or else there would be nothing. We'd be sitting here doing gameplay impressions, which might not be the worst thing ever either. Like playing more VR, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But the Upload VR Showcase was last Wednesday, and it was interesting, man, because most people, myself included, was pretty satisfied with it. Most people came out of it saying, you know what, that was a decent showcase. And it was. But I found it really interesting, man, because I've seen better showcases that people have just shit on before. People are, I don't know if people's standards are changing or they're just, getting more accepting. But I mean, as good as the Upload showcase was, and it was decent, the best stuff. All right, let's do this. Let me bring it up. And the best stuff that was in the Upload showcase were titles like Convergence and Madison VR. And let me see what else they had in here. The very Bulletstorm VR.
I heard of those ones before.
That's my point. There was a lot of great games in it, but it was mostly stuff that we had heard of before. The best stuff. I'm not saying everything. Like Thrasher, for example, one of the better things in the Upload showcase. Walkabout Mini Golf, Metal Hellsinger. These were the biggest highlights. Zero Caliber 2. Anyway, I'll stop there. There's more. The point is that the really big, best looking games were games that we've either already played or at least already heard about. The rest were all smaller budget indie things, like, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I've got a run of show ready for you here today that's just chock full of cool looking stuff, but none of it I would call premium AAA VR. Like it was, or double A. I mean, I use that term AAA a lot. I don't really mean AAA when I say that. When I say AAA, I mean like premium quality, like can't miss, must own VR. And there was none of that. What there was a lot of, there were a lot of mixed reality tech demos. There was a lot of App Lab titles, and there was a lot of multi-platform games that you can tell were being developed around MetaQuest. It's just the type of thing that I don't want to see when I go into one of these things. But I mean, there was enough. I don't know if it was just where they threw a bunch of stuff at the wall and there was some good stuff that stuck to it, where maybe they just showed so many games that there had to be some good ones there. But there was a lot of stuff that I really didn't care for in this, but still came away pretty positive on it. I don't suppose you even watched it, did you, Ruth?
I did not. Even if I was like, we were something we talked about on the show and everyone was excited. I'm one of those people that I would rather go to your channel or, MASH or GT or watch somebody else break down. So I don't waste my time watching this long drawn out shit. I just want bullet points and then I'll fast forward through the ones, but I've never been for some of that, but for people that really enjoy it, Bad Robo said the Upload showcase sucked hard. In his opinion.
Yeah. See, I've seen better ones that people said it sucked hard, but most of the people I've seen talking about this one thought it was pretty good. the first half hour of it was just loaded with MR tech demos. And let me tell you, these MR tech demos look cool. And I said it on the air when I was live reacting to it. It's not that this stuff doesn't look awesome. It looks cool. But at the same time that it's a step forward technologically, it's a step back in terms of the scope of our games. We're getting back to that 2016, 2017 era where people are trying to make whole games out of what typically would be a piece of a game, right? Like a level. People are taking like one cool gameplay mechanic and saying, here's our game. Where if it were like a really great game, this would be like a cool level in that game. And then the rest of the game would have other stuff to show off. And it's something we've talked about a few times on here. Like MR is definitely the future. Um, but you know, at what expense? If this is going to be the sole focus of Meta over the next 2 or 3 years, then gaming is about to take a pretty notable step back in terms of scope. And I'm not willing to make that trade off necessarily.
Yeah, I'm not either, and I don't think it necessarily needs to happen. You know, like can't they do both? You know, you can kind of
I hope so, man. I hope that I'm hoping that when Quest 3 Lite comes along, or Quest 3S, or whatever it's called, that they don't just, as they cut loose the Quest 2 era, that they don't just cut loose VR at the same time. You know what I mean? And I'm not, don't get me wrong. I know there's still going to be VR games. There's still going to be VR games from Meta, but they've made it pretty clear that this is the direction they want to go. I just hope that they don't get too exclusive with the mixed reality, or if they do, hopefully they at least raise the bar. The way
right.
that Asgard's Wrath and Half-Life Alyx kind of had their moment to raise the bar for VR. Hopefully, Meta will expedite that moment for MR, so that we don't have to get stuck in tech demo limbo for a few years.
Give me pass through that I can't tell as pass through is what I want. You know, and I don't know technologically what that takes or how many years we're away from that. I don't want to look through a lens at my room. You know, I don't want it to be a little bit blurry. I don't want it to be better than it used to be. You know, because that's the way we typically look at things. We look at steps, right? And we'll, as it's here, and it's with everything. This is amazing, and then we'll look back 2 years later and think that was dog shit, because it really was dog shit. But we dealt with it, you know, and we looked past it. And so that's kind of where I'm at with mixed reality. I don't want to go through the steps. I don't want to play the tech demos. I don't want to play a level of a game. I don't want to look through a glass that's partially blurry. What I want to do is I want to be in a mixed reality where my room, I look around and something starts to happen on my wall and it looks real, and I'm like, I'm not instantly able to tell, because there's a distinction, right now it's either your room or it's the game put over the, you know, it's actually,
It should be both. It
right.
should be both.
It has to, it needs the next step for me to really get excited, and we might be right around the corner from it. I just look at it as a gimmick right now, and I know it's more than that, but to me that's what it is, and I'm not interested in gimmicks, and so I can see where it's going to go, and I can see it's going to be amazing, and for some things it's really cool. I'm just not interested in it right now myself, but you know, a couple years from now when it's even better, I probably will be. So
There should be like, and this is just an example. I'm not just saying that this should be the only game, but this is an example of the type of things they should be doing. There should be a Wizard of Oz game where you're in your house. They put a filter over it so everything looks all black and white in your house. Makes it look like Quest 2 pass through, or but a little bit cleaner, like maybe like the PSVR 2 pass through. Um, you look out the window, you can see farmland for miles, virtual windows, right? Imposed on your wall. Then you start to hear the thunderstorm rolling in. You look out the window, you see the tornado coming, and then the tornado hits your house, and you look out the window and you see the Wicked Witch riding a bicycle with Toto in her fucking thing, and you know all the stuff that happens in the Wizard of Oz. But then at the end of this, when your house lands, um, you should be able to open up your front door virtually, your virtual front door and use stick locomotion to walk out of your house and into the Wizard of Oz game in full color. You know what I mean?
Right.
These are the sorts of things that they should be doing with that. That would be really cool.
That'd be a really cool transition. And I agree with people, you know, pass through being a good way to not be isolated and stuff. I'm not just interested in looking through beer goggles. Some people might be, but like I love the clarity and that's why I love the pancake lenses. I don't want to go back to Fresnel. Like
it is
you
better. It is better too for what it's worth. They just updated it.
That's what I heard
recently. That took the weirdness away. You know how before when you put your hands up, it would get all blurry around your hand and it would distort. That doesn't really happen anymore.
Well, and that's the reality. We're, you know, between the lenses and the technology, the algorithms, or, you know, the AI, whatever they're using in there, they will make it to where it's indistinguishable. And I don't think we're that far away. So it is exciting times.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I did Miracle Pool last week, which is AR, VR, MR pool, and it was great. Now, the only drawback of the thing didn't have anything to do with the MR. The MR was perfect. It was better that way than it would have been as a VR game. The only problem was with controller tracking. It was the same problem I had with Forever Pool, that you're not looking at your hands when you're playing pool. And in order for the controllers to track perfectly, you have to be looking at your fucking hands the whole time.
I didn't have that problem with the pool game.
Yeah,
Were you talking about Forever Pool or Miracle Pool? Or which one? The one we just played recently. Well, both. I'll tell you what.
I played Miracle Pool, but I had the same problem with Forever Pool. I don't have pro controllers, so the aiming is a little weird because the tracking's not perfect.
I wasn't here to talk about Miracle Pool, but man, I thought that game was done super well. Like, you know, just everything about it. I feel like it's a very legit pool game, and physics wise, it just felt good. You're right about the mixed reality. It felt great. You know, I like the fact that I could actually turn on the assistance. So like for somebody learning, and it just was a really good experience. And with most of the VR pool I've played, I've not had a good experience. And that was an all the way around good experience. So
I agree. I wish I had your controllers. It was the first time that since I've basically been playing Inside Out tracking, where I was just really like, man, I wish I had better controller tracking right now. This is fucking things up for me. But I had fun with it. It made it where I had to play in arcade mode when I didn't want to play in arcade mode. I wanted to play in simulation mode.
Did you beat Susie? Was it Susie? Was that her name? I beat her once. I didn't, and then she beat me.
I beat a couple of them. I beat the first 2 or 3 of them. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't lose. I haven't lost yet. Oh.
I did.
Fluke Rogi says, problem with Miracle Pool for me was lack of space. Virtual objects projected through real world objects gives an awful depth mismatch. Give me a full VR environment. Well,
that's true. Well, I didn't have that problem, but I was constantly moving my table. I did it in a small area, and I just used a small table. That's what I did. And
just turned it, right?
Yeah, I just turned it. But if I was trying to do what it's designed to do, to where you're walking around it and stuff, I could totally see exactly what he's saying. So
anyway, let's not do Saturday's show on Monday. We've got 7 games to talk about, God. So we should probably get on with it, huh?
Yeah.
So we kick off our review of. Is it a review? It's not really a review. It's a best of. The best of Upload VR showcase. We kick it off with a game that we've talked about before, if I'm not mistaken, Roots. I think we've talked about the Burst once or twice before. This is a game I think that was revealed a year ago on the very same showcase. The Burst is a smashing high-speed VR shooter. Plays a Spec Ops operative to bring down tyrannical warband leader and her goons. Restore order on a prison planet the best way you can with violence. This game was, as I said, it was revealed during last year's summer showcase. We got another trailer during the winter showcase. And here we are again in summer, this time with the release date showcase or release date trailer. April 8th or August. I'll get my
yeah. Wes is like in the past or the future. Oh God, Wes, what do we know about the future? Tell us some tidbits.
The 2024 show was really long.
Oh, dude, it was longer than last year's. That's crazy.
Yeah. August 8th, Roots. About 5 weeks out now. Wow. This one. And it looks cool. I'm in on this one, man. It looks. It kind of reminds me a little bit, if you look at the gameplay, a little bit of Synapse. It's like a run and gun shooter. There are parts in this trailer, if you pay attention, where they kind of use an ability that's kind of like what you're doing in Synapse, where you point your hand at something and grab it without grabbing it and throwing it. Telekinesis or whatever. Only in this game, I think it's got things shooting out of your hands like little lines or something. But the graphics look good. I like the kind of lore and story that they've got going on around here. It's got this kind of Mad Max feel to it, and we could play it and it could suck. But from what we can tell by this footage, it looks like it has potential to be pretty fun.
Yeah, gameplay doesn't look like it sucks. It looks like it's actually flowing very well. I like the swinging. It just looks like everything, it works. Just from watching this trailer on the Steam page. Now, I do want to add a couple things. Do you know who else loves the Burst? My mom! Yeah, she does.
Yeah, she does.
And then somebody said, is this Stride but fun? Distracted. Yeah, this does. It looks like Stride but fun. No, this looks good to me. It looks. I do remember thinking it looked good before, but I think this looks even better. I like the fact that you're doing different things, and you're you're like, a lot of games would be tempted to have you running around and you're not riding on a vehicle. Here you're doing both, right? I think that's cool as well. So yeah, it looks cool.
What I like about this? This is kind of a new trend. This art style, it's a new trend in VR games, and we're starting to see now where, everything obviously is still being developed around standalone because that's where all the players are at. But in the early days of standalone, things looked really cartoony, and there wasn't a whole lot of in between. Either you had a high-end VR game that looked pretty realistic, or you had something that was super cartoony and made for standalone. I'm seeing here lately, like over the last year to year and a half, we're getting games that look like this that are still kind of cartoony, but they look a lot better than like the early super like Minecrafty stuff that we had at the beginning of Quest. Like I can handle games that look like this. They're not super high detailed, but there's enough detail to make it, that you can get immersed in it.
Well, and it's a game, like if I was trying to play a simulator and I was like going to New York City and it looked like this graphics, I might have a problem with it. It's a video game where you're running around shooting people. Every video game that I play, whether it be Remnant 2 or any flat game, it's like it's fantasy. It looks different. I think it's a very good art style, and I think you're right. It's got that mix of realism mixed in with the comic book type of look, but it looks really cool, and I think it looks good all the way around. And it looks like you can play the demo is downloadable, right? So.
Yeah, there's a downloadable demo. I don't know how much gameplay is in that, but I did notice that there is a playable demo on Steam right now. So those of you out there that have PCVR can give this game a look. and check it out and let us know what you think, or maybe we'll check it out. Probably not though. I think we've got Game of the Week this month, Roots.
Oh
Game of the
God.
month this week.
Yeah. We got some games to play then, right?
Yeah. Well, we've got all the stuff. Hey, there's my excuse to go back into Ribbon right
Yeah.
there.
There's my excuse to go in there to begin with. Check out the mine carts, right?
Let me help you with the first puzzle though, because I was on stream and it took me like 45 minutes to figure it out.
I don't have 45
and it's like
minutes.
the worst. That's the worst when you're on a stream doing a puzzle game, and it's like the most obvious. It was the first puzzle, Roots. It was the first puzzle, and it took me forever to figure out what it was, and it was something dumb. So
it's usually what it is, right? Something that's not the most difficult, but for whatever reason, your mind's just not looking at it from that angle.
I just missed something. I missed a detail. There was a small detail, something that was interactive that I didn't notice, and I just didn't grab that thing, and that made all the difference.
There's no way I could miss it. No, just kidding. I guarantee if Wes missed it, I'm gonna miss it. So yeah, I would need your help, 100%.
Anyway, no, we've got Game of the Month this week. I don't know if we're going to do that on Sunday or Saturday or Monday, but we've got that. I mean, there wasn't a ton of stuff that came out this month, but there was some stuff. Dead Second, for example, finally made it to the official Metastore last week. That's a game people have been asking us to play for 3 years, Roots.
Is it worth
got a major update?
Is it worth playing? Are we going to check it out finally?
I think we're going to finally check it out. Warplanes, the new Warplanes game came to Quest.
I actually went into that, Wes, and
did you?
Yeah, I flew the helicopter and the plane, and it's very technical as far as the planes, and I think it's cool. I think once you get it down, it seems like it's a progression of even better than the last ones. So yeah, it was cool.
Awesome. So yeah, we got lots to play this week. I don't know about next month, Game of the Month, but I think we had a good. We had enough games to where we'll have stuff to play this week, but it won't be so many where we'll have to blow through a bunch of them like we did last month. Like there was a bunch we didn't play last month, but no, it'll be good. And so stay tuned for that. We got that coming up. Anyway, the burst looks cool. It's coming soon. I think I am going to check this out when it comes out. I'll put in a review request for it. So stay tuned for more on this title.
The shadows have returned. The Sultan is back. Yes, Master. Only the might of the Ember Stones can save us now.
You know very well why these stones can't be trusted.
We need help, Arya. We can't beat the Shadow Sultan alone. I think he can help us. He can handle it, trust me. I'll teach him how.
I hope for our own sake you are right.
Ember Souls looks like the VR version of a PC classic from the 90s. This from mixednews.com. Parkour, climbing, and hand-to-hand combat in a magnificent Persian palace. If you've ever wanted to experience Prince of Persia in VR, Ember Souls could be the game for you. Virtuaways has unveiled its new VR action game, Ember Souls, whose gameplay elements and setting are strongly reminiscent of the PC classic Prince of Persia and its more popular successor, Prince of Persia Sands of Time. A pinch of Assassin's Creed Nexus VR and even a bit of Asgard's Wrath 2 can also be found in the latest gameplay trailer. The VR action adventure combines parkour, climbing, and environmental puzzles with hack and slash elements. You'll also be able to manipulate time and elements. In the single player campaign, you'll become the last immortal to defeat the mysterious Shadow Sultan. You'll explore a magnificent Persian palace with 5 different environments, including luxurious baths and serene gardens. Ember Souls will include the following features: an innovative parkour system for acrobatic climbing, melee combat with over 20 weapons against a variety of enemies, environmental puzzles and deadly traps, manipulation of time and energy with magic stones, detailed Persian palace environments. Ember Souls 2 is scheduled for release late this year on MetaQuest 3, 2, and Pro, as well as PCVR via Steam. Ruuts, this article pretty much said everything that I thought when I was watching this trailer. This is Prince of Persia in VR.
Yeah, that's what Looper was saying. Prince of Persia VR. And yeah, that is definitely, it looks good. You know, it looks like it's got everything you would need. Although I would also agree with Looper, instead of the 90s, it looks like it's more 2000s. But it kind of shows you that, you know, some of those games that we play, it's not like the gameplay loop was that sophisticated or complicated. It just was fun. And that's what this one looks like it's going to be, you know, parkour, climbing, hand-to-hand combat, in a Persian palace. I mean, what else could be, you know, can't think of anything better. So
it often seems like that the best VR games are the ones that take direct inspiration from things that have already been done in flat gaming, which is kind of odd because you can do so much more in VR. But I don't know if it's a lack of imagination on the part of VR devs, or if it's more of a risk management sort of thing where they want to just take advantage of a proven formula and replicate it. At any rate, I mean, I guess if the AAA studios aren't going to give us the VR versions of these games, getting one game that's directly inspired by it's the next best thing.
As long as it's fun, that's all I care about. And you know, I want the VR-ified things that they would add to it to add to the game. Sometimes I feel like developers add stuff that are for VR that don't make the game flow. It doesn't add anything to the game really, you know, so it kind of makes it worse in a way. And so I think the gameplay should always come first. It should always, and then if you can take a game and like this type of gameplay style and then make it its own with VR elements, absolutely. But at minimum, like, I'm just, again, like I was saying earlier, I feel like a lot of the VR that devs add is gimmicky, whether it be ladders, you know, just certain things that, okay, you can't physically do this when you're playing on a monitor, but I don't know that I want to do that over and over and over and over again. And so give me a reason to make it VR, and then I'm all for it. But or take a gameplay concept that works very well flat and bring it into VR and make it its own. Because we said it even before, like the 3D, being in the environments and looking at it from a different perspective in and of itself is completely different. And I don't know what the controls are going to be like in this. Definitely going to be different. Swinging your sword or whatever. I just I feel like the gameplay needs to. I just feel like that a lot of devs don't focus on making it fun. And this actually, second one here, actually makes it look like the gameplay is fun. And maybe that's what you were talking about. A lot of those other showcases, in my opinion, you'd watch a game and it may have been better production value, but the gameplay looked like it was shit. And I was like, why would I play that? You know, this is 2 in a row that actually the gameplay looks cool. So.
Oh, there was a lot that we passed over. Like it was an hour-long showcase full of trailers the whole time. What we're looking at here is what, in my estimation, are the best, other than those games I mentioned at the top. Obviously, Madison VR coming to Quest. They didn't show any footage of it, but that's big news. That's a great game. Hopefully, they can get it translated over. The Bulletstorm trailer was probably my favorite trailer out of the whole thing. Like the Bulletstorm trailer was so cool that it makes me want to go back and cover Bulletstorm again.
Don't we have to
Because
for PlayStation, right? Didn't it release on PlayStation this last month?
no, it wasn't this last month. It was months ago.
Oh, what was it? So they didn't release it all this month on any platform, or maybe okay.
No, they didn't. They updated it though.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm thinking of.
They kind of botched the launch of it months ago, and they updated it and fixed all that shit. And that basically, that's what the trailer said. It started out, it said, we fucked up, but we fixed it. And the whole trailer was about how fucked up the original one was and how cool it is now.
That's all we want, you know.
And it was awesome.
And admitting it is even cooler. Yeah, that's cool. That makes me want to go and play it as well. And Looper, the Underground Game Cat, says, I hated ladders in Riven. And I know this is going to flip some people out, and maybe the option is there, but would it be much to just be able to push a button and climb the ladder? I know people are like, what the fuck? Could you do that?
For that?
Okay. Yeah, because that should always be an option, because I'm probably going to do that 99%. I might climb a couple ladders, but let's be real. Like, I've climbed so many ladders in my life, Wes, especially this time of year. I got to get to that fucking yellow jacket nest way up there, stretching with a pole and a fogger on the end. I don't need to be doing it in VR as well, but it's good that its options are there.
So I kind of agree with Looper. It's definitely not the best VR ladders I've ever seen. What I will say is it is definitely an improvement over Abduction. Abduction, the ladders were so bad that I went immediately and just flipped the option on to auto climb ladders and stuff. These I left it on. Like, it's not great, but I mean the climbing feels all right. The only problem is if you let go, you don't fall, you just float. So there's a little immersion breaking when you don't necessarily have to grab it. It sucks when you have to climb down because, you know, like a game like Zero Caliber I played last week, you climbing down a ladder on that, you just let go and you'll fall, and then you can kind of grab one of the rungs before you hit the ground.
Oh, like real life.
Don't take fall damage. Yeah. But in Riven, it's not like that. You let go and you just float there.
Yeah.
But at least the climbing felt all right. Like in Abduction, it was just terrible. You didn't even have to grab a rung. You could just kind of stick your hand in the dead space between the rungs and climb. And it was janky. It felt janky the whole time you were climbing. It doesn't feel like that in Riven for me.
Yeah, if you're climbing, and that's the thing. There are games like Call of the Mountain. The climbing felt really good. Sometimes climbing can feel good in VR, and I'm all for that. I'm just not, and I get it. It's not all for me. There's somebody that's going to go into any of these games and climb a ladder and be like, oh my fucking God, can you believe it? I just climbed a ladder in VR. Like, hey, dude, it is amazing. And I'm glad you can enjoy it. So anyways,
yeah, so that was the next one that I found interesting. And I do realize that I'm flying through these games. That's by design. We've got 7 of them on here as opposed to our normal 5. There isn't a lot of information out there on most of these games. Mostly what we have are trailers, and that's basically what we're doing today. We're looking at some cool trailers for some games that we didn't know were in development, and then we're going to go home. Anyway, The Burst looked awesome. Ember Souls looked awesome as well. And then we came to this next one, which I found interesting. I'll say that.
So, tell me about this Space Bermuda Triangle.
How did you find it?
I told you. It's not a place you find. It's a place that finds you. Takes you. Another dimension. It's like hell. Real.
And it's filled with hyper-aggressive extraterrestrials.
I know, it sounds crazy, but those poor people, they can't get out. Just watch the distress signals. This is real.
Sure. Of course. Incredibly real. To you.
It's gonna be pretty goddamn real to everyone. Women, children, everyone is getting slaughtered out there. There's no escape. We have to do something. We have to save them. Send in the military. Anything. We have to let people know that warp travel isn't safe. Show the people what's happening. This has to get out.
Another one. More of the same delusions.
By Grit Alone is a story-driven VR horror FPS coming to Quest. This from Henry Stockdale at Upload VR. By Grit Alone is a new narrative-driven VR horror shooter, and it's coming to Quest this year. Developed by Crooks Peak in collaboration with Meta and the UK Games Fund, By Grit Alone features writing talents like Anthony Johnson from Dead Space and Resident Evil Village, and Emma Beebe from Judge Dredd and Doctor Who. Described as an intense action horror game that plunges you into the depths of space, you'll encounter derelict starships and ravenous aliens in a fight for survival. Revealed at the Upload VR Summer Showcase, By Grit Alone offers a sci-fi anthology of narrative tales, and Crooks Peak says you should expect dark, brutal, and weird tales of cannibalism, cults, sentient biofuel, and more. Set in the Bermuda Triangle of space, you're armed with an adaptive shotgun as it tasks you with navigating wreckage and rogue AI as you fend off alien swarms. Fly between ships, dodge asteroids, and navigate treacherous environments, all while being immersed in the sounds and sights of this cosmic nightmare. Excuse me. By Grit Alone reaches the MetaQuest platform this September, and you can pre-order it now with an 11% discount. Ruuts, I really like this trailer. I think this is an awesome trailer. I think that this trailer really conveys the kind of fucked up story that you're going to experience in this game. But I'm not so sure about the gameplay. They don't show a whole lot of gameplay here. They show just a little bit at the end, and what's there makes it seem a little bit like a last gen like corridor shooter, which could be fun to be playing. It could be fun. I just don't know, and this is a game that's coming out soon. Hopefully we see more gameplay before it launches. I think the story, they've got me hooked. That was a great trailer. They've got me hooked. I'm in for the story. The game, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Ghost Shot says story sounds awesome. Game seems meh, but could be cool. Spry says the trailer looks good. I'm not sure the game will be. I agree. I agree with all of you. It is 100% right on. It's just weird. It's like Fluke Rogi said, the disparity between the FMV and the cartoony graphics is really odd. And I think maybe it's good. Maybe it's really good. I don't know. I'm hoping, but I guess we have to wait till September. I was all excited for a second there. Now I'm not so excited.
They said it was coming out on 9/11. Did I just imagine that? Or
did it really? Oh my God.
I don't know.
In Memorial?
It was 11% discount. It comes out in September with an 11% discount. Maybe they're trying to tell us something.
I think it's a conspiracy. It's definitely on 9/11. It's coming out. Maybe.
No, it's cool. I've got my, it's on my radar. I'm definitely in it. Even if the gameplay is basic, which it looks like it might be just basic gameplay. I mean, they're touting some pretty good credentials here with regard to their writers, right? The people that wrote the story,
Right.
working on games like Dead Space and Resident Evil Village, Doctor Who. So even if the gameplay is just okay, this could still be a very good title to experience if the story is what it seems like it could be.
That's a good point, Wes. This is a story-driven VR horror FPS. Story-driven, so the story needs to be good to begin with. So if it's a good enough story anyway, I could see myself enjoying it. If the gameplay is not like fantastic, but actually, playable.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the story looks really good as well, and hopefully it'll be the best game of the year. We'll be like raving about it in January. I don't think that's the case, but I think we probably will be saying it's a good game. So.
Well, it won't have to be game of the year for me. It'll just have to be the best game on Quest.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Actually, I almost went into Happy Funland last night because I was like trying to think of something to go into, and I need to get back in there.
Say that. It's funny that you say that because I just had the same thought recently because like last week, when you were away and Eric wasn't available, I'm sitting here thinking maybe I'll stream something, right? But then I start thinking, okay, what is streamable that I can play that I want to play? So I start thinking about what do I want to play? I want to play UEVR games. Well, most of those aren't streamable for me. I don't have enough performance to play them and stream them. There's some cool stuff on Quest like Asgard's Wrath 2 but that's Quest though. Streaming Quest games sucks. It's hard to do. And I eventually settled on like Resident Evil 4, I think was what I was going to do. But then I got busy with some other stuff and didn't have a chance to go live. But then like a couple of days later, it occurred to me that I never finished Happy Funland, and I fucking loved the first half of it. Like that was it. That's the choice. Next time I need something to stream, it's got to be Happy Funland. I need to finish that.
I agree, and I think people want to see you finish it as well. So it's a win-win for everybody, right?
Yeah, I don't even think that I didn't even stream the first half. I might just play the whole damn thing again, because I want to share that with people. Just what it is I like about that game, so people understand.
And it should be better because now you can just not even worry about the stupid baseball bat and just carry the cameras. That's
as bad as the melee is in that game, it's still better than Striped Baits.
Yeah, well, that's pretty true. That is true. That's 100%.
I watched another video on that guy's channel today. I just happened to stumble upon it, and he's still going off saying the same shit he said in that video. It was the same video, only now he was kind of directing his ire at VR content creators for being overly enthusiastic and not being critical enough of the games. But he was showing more footage of Striped Baits, and it was just terrible, man. He's like literally holding his gun out just like this, and the enemy's just killing themselves on his fist, just running into it and falling down over and over again until they die.
It is ridiculous. So but I think what you said when it comes to that game and is so like the way it is, most people would never find that out. It's a shooter. Like, and yeah. I don't get me wrong, that's a big problem, but like, it's like, for most people, it's not going to be a problem. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. I feel like sometimes we do want to be optimistic about VR. And so sometimes it's not that we're glossing over stuff. We just, are more positive, or optimistic than maybe we should be. And then sometimes people are the opposite and they're too negative. And so like, there's gotta be a balance. And here's the reality. Everybody's opinion is their opinion.
Yep.
And so you can't be wrong. You know, like it is what it is. Everybody's going to think differently. And if he feels that way, it's valid. You know, I on some levels, I feel that way, but I think it's getting better, and it's been getting better for like the last year or so. So,
yeah. And you know, we we talked about this when we started our channel quite a bit. We haven't talked about it in a while, but we don't try to break games when we play them. There's a like, some reviewers, and especially people like this guy, they're going in and looking for flaws. They go into the game to try to find out what's wrong with it. They're looking for visual defects. They're looking for, foveated rendering or reprojection. They're looking for things in the gameplay, balancing issues. That's not how we review games. It's not how we cover games. What we do is we go in and play the game like a normal person would play it, and we come back here and tell people what our experience was.
First impressions.
Not,
There's a
yeah,
difference.
I'm not going in and trying to make it not work. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going in and playing it how I feel like people would play it, how I would play it, regardless. And if I come across a problem, you bet your ass we'll get on here and tell people about what the problems were. But I'm not looking for them. I'm not trying to find them.
It's a different approach. Like like Gamertag, he is legitimate reviewer. Like he agonizes about, like, he wants to finish the game. You know what I mean? Like, most people don't want to do that. I wouldn't, but I'm also not trying to review it. But like, that's why there's like certain people that review games that, like, I would be going to his channel because I know that he played it. You know what I mean? And it's a different thing. First impression is, hey, I played it for an hour or two or a couple hours, and this is what I think. And then we come back, and sometimes we say, hey, dude, I played it 3 more hours, and I was completely wrong. It was fucking way better. I guess life.
Journey to Foundation. Journey to Foundation is what it's like. I was not a fan of that game at first. It was definitely better in the second session than it was in the first.
Right.
Yeah.
And a mischievous Marcio has a good point. Like, if you're going and looking for faults, you're already going to, thinking it's going to be bad, you're going to find a bad game. A lot of times, I just don't want to play a game that way anyway. Like, I want to go in there to have fun and play it. And then if shit starts, all of a sudden I'm like finding weird stuff happening, like Wanderer when I first played it and I got stuck on the raft and stuff. Like, there's certain things that shouldn't happen, but like, then the developers hopefully fix it. So, but
100%. Anyway, we got off on a tangent there. By grit alone, looks like a average corridor shooter with an awesome story and lore built around it. Hopefully it turns out to be more than that. But here's the good thing, Roots. It's only like $18 or something.
Oh,
and
it's
if
not
you
bad.
pre-order it, if you pre-order it right now, it's like $16.
Okay.
So,
do we know how long it's going to be?
Judging from the price, I'd say 2 or 3 hours, but I don't know. I have no idea. It says it's an anthology, so that tells me maybe there's some scenarios in it that you play through. So, I would say 3 to 5 hours would be my guess on it, just from my educated guess as an expert in the space. But I don't know. I have no clue.
Yeah, I agree. Steve Iyer says Saints and Sinners was full of jank, but it didn't matter. Well, and that's another thing too. Sometimes the jank is not breakable jank. Like not every game. That's why when a game has no jank, you're like, oh my God, this game is like perfect. But most games have a little bit of jank or in here or there. But if it's not something that breaks anything, it doesn't matter. You look past
Hubris.
it. Yeah,
Hubris. When I was testing Hubris for PSVR 2, and this may still be the case. I haven't gone back to see if they fix this or not. I've got a video on my hard drive, on my PS5 hard drive. I figured out a bug that lets you climb walls that you're not supposed to be climbing. So like, there's this level where it's very linear, right? There's a very clear path you're supposed to take out from the building that you come. You go outside, you walk down this path, and then you go through the whole level. Like, there's a whole level built on that path. And then when you get done, the path ends where it began. It's like a big circle, right? But you can only go one way on that path, because if you try to go to where it ends, there's a giant wall that you drop down from when you're coming out. So you can't. So that keeps you from going backwards. Once I realized that I could climb these walls, I decided I'm going to play this level backwards. And it took me a while. I don't know why I spent so much time doing it, but
Because
it
you
took me a
could.
while. Right. I wanted to see how far I could go. I didn't make it all the way. I only made it about halfway.
Hmm.
But I went through a whole like section of the level, the whole cave section. I went through backwards, and it was more than just climbing the walls. Like there was another bug that let me float from like when you're grabbing like hand grabs to climb over stuff.
Hmm.
There's a way that you could manipulate the joysticks to make your arms grow infinitely long.
You know who
So
else
like,
loves to manipulate the joystick? Sorry, I had to. Go ahead.
but I was basically using the combination of those two flaws to climb up walls that I wasn't supposed to climb, grab handholds that I shouldn't be able to reach, and then use those to clear gaps that I shouldn't be able to clear. And I made it through like a whole cave part of the level, and I only got stopped um, because the action point in the level where most of the enemies were was covered up by like a force field dome, and you could only um, disengage that force field by approaching it from the other side and triggering events for them to open it up.
That's kind of
So I
lame.
got
They
in,
didn't add it in there from backwards. Like, come on, they should have thought about that. But how cool though. I don't know. I do that kind of stuff too. I'll just go backwards or try to, if I find something, I'm like, how far can I go with this? And that's crazy.
Anyway, the point of the story is that even the best games have some weird stuff going on. If you're looking to break it, it's not all that hard to do.
Yeah, that's for game testers, Wes. I'm a game player. I want to play the game and then relay that to people.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. Anyway, we're hitting the halfway mark here, and this next teaser trailer it was one of the shorter ones, but might be one of the ones that I was most excited for.
Ever wonder where you'd land if you fell so deep into sleep, down the rabbit hole of your dreams, to a place beyond imagination and beneath the subconscious?
Escaping Wonderland heads back down the rabbit hole this year on Quest. This from Henry Stockdale, Upload VR. Escaping Wonderland is a new VR adventure game from the Down the Rabbit Hole studio. Announced at the Upload VR Summer Showcase, Escaping Wonderland is developed by Cortopia Studios and published by Beyond Frames Entertainment. Using the diorama perspective seen in Down the Rabbit Hole, Escaping Wonderland promises puzzle gameplay focused on exploration. You'll encounter characters from Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Here's the full description. Using the unique diorama perspective established in Down the Rabbit Hole, Escaping Wonderland will feature gameplay that focuses on exploration through a world filled with whimsy and wonder, brain teasers that will make you mad as a hatter, and a silly sense of fun that will leave players grinning ear to ear like a Cheshire cat as they encounter characters from the children's literary classic, Alice in Wonderland. With Escaping Wonderland, we're delivering more of what players already loved in the original while providing a more substantial experience, said Mavis Bombergs, Beyond Frames Entertainment's head of publishing. We're also starting fresh with an all-new story so that everyone can join in the fun. It's not a sequel so much as an all-new adventure in Wonderland. Escaping Wonderland will reach MetaQuest platform this year, and pre-orders are now live with a 10% discount. Ruuts, outside of all the stuff we talked about at the top of the show, this was probably my favorite announcement from the showcase. It looks like, they took the formula from Down the Rabbit Hole, which was a title that we enjoyed, and now they're really expanding that out to a more fully polished experience and a brand new story from the Upside Down Wonderland. I think this looks really cool, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I am too. I'm a little torn though. Where's 3.5? What happened to the card? That was my favorite part. So, no, this is cool. The original Down the Rabbit Hole was amazing. I think this looks like it could be even better. Definitely looks like they've stepped up the graphics and everything. So, It looks cool.
Yeah, the original one was a really cool concept. It had some really clever puzzles in it. And it has one of the elements that are shared amongst my very favorite VR games, and something that we talk about a lot on this channel, and that is surrealism, that dreamlike world where anything can happen at any moment. I feel like VR really could take more advantage of these types of games because it puts you in these worlds, right? And these developers can literally do anything with that they want to. And sometimes I feel like these studios are a little bit too conventional in what they do. But games like this, they want things to be strange. They want you to not be able to see the next thing that's coming. And that's why I like it so much. Even if it is something like Alice in Wonderland that is, kind of a childish, subject matter. We talked about Wizard of Oz a minute ago. It was the same thing with that. I love Wizard of Oz just because of the weirdness and surrealism of it. So no, I'm looking forward to this. It definitely looks like they've stepped up the graphics a little bit. I'm sure that the scale of the game is probably a bit more fleshed out as well. And my only problem with it is that they didn't call it Up the Rabbit Hole, which is what I thought it should have been called.
Yeah,
if you're going to have a sequel to Down the Rabbit Hole,
maybe they thought that had a sexual. That sounds kind of sexual. You know who loves Up the Rabbit Hole?
My mom!
Yeah, she does. Yeah, no. I think what's cool about this is it takes a known entity, right? Alice in Wonderland, and it makes it its own. At least if it goes after like the first one. The first one, it had a completely different story, and it had nothing to do with the original. And that's kind of what I'm hoping this. It's in the same vein as that. So
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool enough that they say that there are characters from the original that are going to be in this, and that was the case last time too. So yeah, I think it's super cool. Looking forward to it. Hopefully, it doesn't take to the end of the year before this comes out, because I'd rather play it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, game of the year. Calling it right now. Maybe
Mr.
not.
Tasselhoff joining us in the chat. What's up, Tass?
Yeah, he says you shove it up your own rabbit hole. You know who loves to shove it up? Oh wait, never mind. We just did that one.
Waleed is now a Gamecast, specifically a White Tiger, $5 Canadian donation. 6 out of 10 showcase. Convergence and Arcade Paradise. For your information, I just beat the RE4 Vertigo Liquid Nitrogen boss on PSVR 2.
Really?
I'm speechless and blown away. I know what you're talking about in Vertigo. I don't know how RE4 plays into that unless you're saying that you beat both of them. That freaking liquid nitrogen boss is an asshole. I died on that thing so many times on the PC when I was fighting it. I think they had to go back and
nerf it.
Yeah, I think they nerfed it a little bit because when I played it, it was fucking hard, man.
When Wes played it, it was hard back in the day.
Or maybe the second boss. It was one of the early bosses in the game. It was fucking hard, man. Anyway, we got it. And congratulations, Waleed. It's a fun game. And I don't necessarily disagree. 6 out of 10, maybe 7. It was slightly above average. So I guess it depends on which out of 10 scale that you're grading on. If 6 out of 10 is slightly above average for you, then I say you're right on. Vertigo is the name of the boss, Wes, in RE4.
Ooh.
Oh, so you're not talking about Vertigo 2 with the lava monster that you have to freeze to fight it. You're talking about something in RE4 that I'm not even.
You've made it that far?
I haven't made it that far, yeah.
I have not made it that far either. But
no, that game came out when I've played the older version. I still didn't make it. Like this must be a late boss in the thing or something. But the remake on PlayStation VR, I've hardly played it. It came out when my dad was in the hospital, and I wasn't playing VR games at that time. I was in the hospital every day, so that's why I said that when this past week when I was going to stream something, that was going to be the one, because I've only got 4 or 5 hours in it. Like I haven't played it that much.
yeah, it's crazy. You need to get in there.
I agree. Lava boss, yeah. Thank you, Looper. That's the one I'm talking about. I thought that's what he meant, because you have to get these like grenades or something that freeze it for a moment so that you can hurt it.
Chapter 10.
No, definitely didn't make it to chapter 10 in any of those versions. All right. Moving along. This next one, I have actually seen a few people mention this next one. I think it's a pretty interesting subject matter, so I thought we'd bring it up. Scythe dev team announces film-inspired horror VR title, Deep Cuts. This is from BloodyDisgusting.com. Publisher Tiny Build and developer Scythe dev team, the masterminds behind Happy's Humble Burger Farm. Oh, I know, right? Are teaming up once again for horror gamers. Their latest work is the film-inspired horror VR venture set in the interconnected Scythe universe in Deep Cuts. Deep Cuts centers around filmmaker Elise Weber and best friend creative partner Malcolm Michaud, who are enjoying an illustrious career until their villainous cartoon creations went mad. As Elise, players will explore the Lights Camera Faction studio premises in hopes of saving Malcolm, exploring a series of blockbuster worlds based on the duo's extensive film catalog. Luckily for Elise, she will have Bowie, the only sane cartoon character left, along for the ride. Each blockbuster world, from the 80s horror-inspired Forsaken Festival to the 70s space thriller Origin Drill, contains numerous interactable objects for players to use. Grab a boom mic for an improvised weapon, or fire off a prop machine gun. Solve intricate puzzles with the help of time manipulation abilities, and embrace the power of an ultimate film director. With Deep Cuts, we've harnessed every inch of the MetaQuest hardware to create an unmatched experience, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the physical VR medium, said Khalib Al-Fada, Principal Technical Engineer, Director, and Founder, Scythe Dev Team. Our team meticulously optimized every aspect to ensure fluid performance and rich, detailed environments that truly bring the game to life. We're excited to offer players an experience that fully exploits the potential of the hardware, setting a new bar for standalone VR.
Wow, that's crazy. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, either it's one of two things here, Roots. One, this is a highly optimized game that's doing things on Quest that we very rarely see done. or 2, that quote was written by an AI. I wonder which one it is.
AI. I lean towards AI. Isn't AI is writing everything these days?
Yeah, well, I've seen enough AI writing to know what it does, and it basically makes everything out to be the best thing ever, and that's what this sounds like.
Ooh,
Hopefully, I'm wrong. Hopefully, that's a real quote, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, looks like it could be good.
Deep Cuts will arrive on MetaQuest later in 2024, with releases on Steam VR and PSVR 2 next year. So when I look at this Ruuts, when I look at the graphics and stuff on it, I don't see anything that's particularly impressive. What I do see, though, is what appears to be some fairly well implemented in-game physics. It seems like they've got some real physics going on here. And the reason why I'm interested in it, the reason why we're talking about it, is I love the concept, right? You're hopping around in all of these like 70s and 80s movies. Like some of them are black and white. There's like space thrillers and westerns and all of this different stuff. And it seems like it's going to be like a scenario-based puzzler with a unique story behind it. And that, I think, has a little promise.
Yeah, it could be. It could be good, you know? Hopefully, it's a horror VR title. And, you know, it's film-inspired.
This is one of those games that we were talking about at the top of the show where, like, this is a game that only works in VR. Like, you put this in flat game, but then people are going to be like, what is this? This is
boring.
Right.
Yeah.
But you get in here and you're putting your hands on things and interacting with things and having to come up with creative ways to solve problems and make it through these different scenarios, getting to experience all of these different worlds, very, very different worlds, firsthand, with your own eyes and ears. That's something. And if it's done right, maybe it's going to be really cool.
How long do you think till we have a film-inspired horror VR title based on Welcome to Derry with it? How cool would that be? Like, I want some scary shit, you know? I think it'd be cool.
I'm not very familiar with what you're talking about.
Oh, there's one of these articles that's showing, it says Welcome to Derry. It's a HBO original. It's the the series, right? Like, I want to see VR horror title with it as the theme, right? And then have D live stream it. That would be amazing.
D still has to finish Madison.
I know, D. What are you doing?
I didn't forget about that, D.
It's been a while.
I think you might have, but I didn't.
She loves Pennywise, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
No, I'm sure it's her favorite, right?
That's everybody's favorite. He's so cute. Cuddly.
Anyway, this is cool looking, potentially. Again, it's one of those things where it may just be a game that's cool to get in and mess around with, and the gameplay might suck. But I guess that goes for all of these games, right? We never know until we play them if they're going to be good or not.
That's true, especially when most of them look good, though, or at least the first 3 of those, the 5 so far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, these are my cherry-picked ones that I thought looked cool. I'm really trying to bring some attention to some of this stuff got overlooked by people. This next one is actually a pretty good example of that. I don't think I've seen anybody talk about this next one, but I think it looks cool. So we're going to talk about it.
Hello? Anyone there? What the hell?
How does this place know our memories?
How would I know?
So, what's the plan?
Get the band back together.
Oh, I've had enough of everybody.
I would never do something like that.
Okay, everybody has done. Just play the notes. Say it right now. You want me to help you do something.
Lovesick is about 4 members of a post-punk band on the verge of breaking up. They go through this supernatural event called the feedback, which blows their consciousnesses out of their bodies. You play as the bass player Sam, who's exploring these weird escape room style mindscapes to try and bring the band back together. When we were first developing Lovesick, we were tapping into our own experiences. Most of the team grew up playing in bands, and we wanted to build a story that we were uniquely set up to tell. The entire game focuses on the 4 bandmates of the New Agenda. We wanted to keep the cast small and dig in on how they live and write music together. Even though they're going through this mind-bending experience, it's still grounded in a relatable story. Lovesick is coming out in 2025, and you can wishlist the game now.
Lovesick, a post-punk puzzle VR game coming soon to MetaQuest. This from OregonConfluence.com. Middle America, 1999. After a grueling tour that has left them emotionally drained and flat broke, the 4 members of the New Agenda make it back to their dilapidated home. They have nothing in the fridge, nothing in the bank, and nothing lined up for their future. They can't even survive band practice without tearing each other apart, and during one especially disastrous practice session with a supernatural event dubbed the Feedback, plunges them all into a twisted alternate reality. In Lovesick, you assume the role of Sam, the band's bassist, as he navigates the strange environments imprisoning his bandmates. With each surreal mindscape reflecting the memories, fears, and ambitions of the person trapped within, he is the crumbling band's only hope for returning to reality. Sam must piece together the mystery behind the encroaching feedback, determine what lies ahead for the New Agenda, and save his bandmates before they're swallowed whole inside their own troubled minds. Developed by Portland's Rose City Games and co-published by Lyrical Media, Lovesick is a new, weird exploration of a band on the brink of collapse. Set against the backdrop of the late 90s, the game combines elements of raw storytelling, surreal visuals, and escape room-inspired puzzle solving to create a completely unique VR game. The developers are also bringing their own lived experiences to craft the story of Lovesick. Before getting into game dev, most of us on the team grew up playing in bands. I spent my entire 20s in the music industry, recording albums, touring, and later working at a record label, recalls director Corey Warning. We're uniquely set up to tell this story. It was inspired by the existential nowhere that comes from being on the road constantly and finding and sharing your voice. The egos, the pressure, the camaraderie, it's all here. Lovesick's music embodies the 1990s influenced post-punk scene with songs and score by Graham Nesbitt. Corey and I had a blast developing the sound of the New Agenda and referencing the punk, indie rock, and emo music from the turn of the century. That's part of what's special about Lovesick. Most of what you hear as far as the world of sound in the game comes from the characters and the instruments they play. In a way, it's an extension of all their voices and how it all fits into the music from this specific moment in time. Rose City Games has been developing and publishing the original independent video games since 2015. The studio's MO has always been to challenge themselves with something new with each project they create. From publishing a visual novel puzzle battler, The World Next Door, to a tactics-driven deck builder, Floppy Nights, to a cozy adventure, Garden Story, they've broadened their skills while always staying rooted in strong narratives, striking art styles, killer soundtracks, and approachable gameplay. With Lovesick, Rose City Games is crafting the studio's first VR title with co-publisher Lyrical Media, driven by a shared dedication to authentic storytelling. We set out to make something unlike anything we've seen in VR before, and this has been many years coming, says Will Lewis, co-founder of Rose City Games. This team has showed tremendous grit through this journey, pushing boundaries of what we can do and overcoming challenges to bring Lovesick to life. It's a culmination of our passion for genuine, character-driven storytelling and satisfying puzzle development. That's a lot, Roots.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But I'm buying what they're selling here, man. This is something different, and it all starts with the narrative, right? they tell the story of this band and kind of people who are at each other's throat after a bunch of touring, just trying to make it, right, starving artist types. Supernatural event throws them all into their individual worlds, and the worlds very much are made up of their personality, right? Things that are troubling them, things that they're struggling with at the time of the event. So you, as their friend and bandmate, have to go in and help them work through their mental bullshit, represented by escape room style puzzles. It's a clever concept, something we really haven't seen much of in VR to date. And again, it could be good, it could be bad, it could be a bad game with a good story. I dig the vibe, and I like the original idea here.
Yeah, and hopefully they get along. I think the band will do better if they all just stop fighting. You know, it's probably why they have no gigs going.
Why not just smoking weed? They wouldn't be fighting all the time.
Yeah, just smoke a joint. You guys will be laughing. You won't be fighting anymore. Tech knows. Attack. He said he's gonna get. He said I can't wait to get some drugs to play this game. Definitely looks like a trippy game. It looks like like you said, it could be good. I like the premise, and so we'll see. Did they say how long until this comes out?
That's next year. This game's a while out still. This game comes out next year. I like the vibe of it in general. Like I think the music's pretty cool. Basically, what it's got here is it's got that same vibe that Arcade Paradise has. That mid to late '90s kind of pop counterculture vibe going on. But it's a completely different type of game. You're not going to be washing many clothes and cleaning many clothes.
Damn it! I was hoping for a couple laundry loads. You know.
Right, I know, me too. But it is what it is. You can't have everything in the game.
That's true. You have to. You got to earn your keep, right? You can just get these video games out of nowhere. So.
Right. Anyway, why did they make you the bass player? Like, it's like the most boring player you could be. Why couldn't you be like I guess the bass player would probably be the most grounded individual and the one that was probably the most capable of helping everyone solve their shit. Like, I'm sure that the singer is probably a narcissist in some way, and the drummer's probably
a loner,
some reckless thrill seeker or something. Yeah, right. And the guitar player is probably all self-centered and in his own head. Yeah. So I guess the bass player would be the one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and I guess we'll find out. Probably hear more about it over the next year or so, right? So.
Yep. Yeah, definitely looking forward to this one, but it is going to be a while. But I mean, at least they had the wherewithal as a studio to seek out Upload VR and get their name out there. Like, they must know their shit a little bit, or we wouldn't have even ever seen this trailer.
What do you think is going through some of these developers' heads? And I get it, like, you're making a game or whatever, but like, in no fucking world do you not need to market your game. And you know what I mean? Like, there has to be somehow people, they need to find your game. They don't just suddenly find it. Rarely. It's just weird. I feel like the VR, it's getting better, but the VR industry is different than maybe they need to learn over time. But it's like, they haven't learned that you actually need to market your game. I get it. It costs money, or even reach out to Upload and see if they'll cover it in a showcase. It's just like they expect it to just suddenly start selling, and that's just not the way it works.
A lot of these people don't even really know anything about the VR space. We recently had a client that we talked to about the Upload VR showcase, and this is a team has developers in it that are experienced VR developers, but the people running the show, the people in charge at the studio, are not VR people. They're business people. So I explained to them what Upload VR Showcase is, and they're like, "What's that? Like, what's Upload VR?" Right? So I think this is the case for a lot of studios. Is that, the people on the ground making the game, they have some idea of what the ecosystem's like. But the people who are in charge of marketing the game um,
They
think
don't.
that it's the same as the regular games industry, and it's not. It's very different.
It is very
Um,
different. But even
yeah.
the regular gaming industry, I mean, they at least will try to there's like announcements and releases, and like VR has baffled me over the last couple of years. Like all of a sudden this game just comes out. No, we're in the industry and we're finding out this game is like, oh shit, we need to add this to the game of the year discussion. We didn't even know this game is out, and it's like a really good
Holy
game,
shit.
and it's just weird to me.
It's funny that you say that because there was one that I meant to put on our rundown that was just that. It looked awesome, and I had no idea it was coming. But now I see that I didn't even put it in the rundown. So,
Well, that's because
wah, wah.
nobody told. It's just crazy, man. I don't know. I just feel like that is part of why some of these games don't succeed. You need to get a buzz out there about your game. Well, even if it's with content creators. I mean, look what Ghost of Tabor did. That's what every game should be doing on some level. Get a community, get people interested, and like then when it drops, it's like it's a big deal instead of just this random dropped game that nobody's heard of, and you're hoping it does well, and then you're surprised it didn't do well, and then you're dropping the game down to $2, and it sucks. I know it's a lot of work a lot of developers are putting into it, and it's like they're missing one of the most important parts in selling anything.
That's the worst thing, man. It's the toughest thing, especially when you're working with indie studios and smaller teams. Um, so a lot of these people are running out of budget, and they're forced into making bad decisions. Like they understand that maybe the game isn't where it should be and where they'd like it to be, um, and that they're going probably 4 months too early. Whether
That's
that be to make a trailer or do a reveal or put the game on the store for pre-order or go to App Lab, what have you. Budget crunches typically are what's responsible for most of these that I've experienced. It's like that. It's like we know that it would be better to wait. We can't wait. We're going to close our studio if we wait.
right.
So we have to do it. And it's tough, man, because you're sitting there and like, all right, we could launch now and do okay. Like we'll do fair and you can keep your studio open. But if you could just wait 2 months to launch, you'll do 5 times better than what you do if you're launching right now. Right now, you're going to blow your one
Shot.
chance to make a good first impression. And a lot of the times, they knowingly decide to do that because it's really the only choice they have from a fiscal perspective. So it's unfortunate. I wish there was more money out there to fund these projects instead of them all having to be self-funded the way that they are.
Right.
But it is what it is. This VR gaming today is indie gaming. Like there aren't a whole lot of big studios out there doing it, and the best games come from the bigger ones that are out there, the In Dreams and the Fast Travels, and those guys. They have the money to make good games, but all of the rest of this stuff are coming from relatively small teams with relatively low bankroll, and that often is the case. Why we're getting an early access version that isn't what it should be. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think just being honest and open about every bit of that early access is the key to that, and then delivering, and I'm willing to pay for a game and help every time. Some developers don't
Right.
seem to do that exactly the best way, and I just feel like there's if from an outsider's point of view, that
Yeah, the communication's key because oftentimes what they're selling people is their goal, their ambitious vision of what they want their game to be. Even if it's like a far cry from what their game actually is today. So they're assuming that with the proper funding and support that they can make their game into the game that they're selling people. But you have to tell people that this is what we want to do, instead of letting people believe that, okay, this is what you're getting right now. It's key. You're right. We have to make sure people know going in what they're getting into, and that, the game that we're selling you is the vision of what we're working toward, not what we have today.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, I got one more on my list here. What's up, Radio Runt? You're just in time. As we wrap up our talk about the best of the Upload VR showcase, one more title that I thought was pretty interesting. Myron Games announces release date of Underworld Overseer for Steam VR and MetaQuest. This from Upload VR. Dungeon Keepers, the time has come. Myron Games, one of the generous sponsors of the Upload VR Summer Showcase, announces their new dungeon management game, Underworld Overseer, set to release on Steam VR and the official MetaQuest store on October 31st, 2024. Founded by Tommy Malato in 2019, Myron Games is a Belgian company specializing in VR development. If the name sounds familiar, you may have heard about the company's first VR game, Deism, the VR God simulator which Malato worked on in 2016. Feeling nostalgic for the good old days of table-down dungeon management games? Underworld Overseer puts you in the shoes of an omnipotent dungeon master known as the Overseer. Nice guys don't always finish last, though. Be as ruthless as possible as you expand your territory and destroy anything that gets in your way. As the big boss of the underworld, you have the power to order your imps to build your dungeon for you, attracting more minions as you go. Strategically command an army of demons, place traps to lure and obliterate unsuspecting invaders, and of course show off your powerful spellcasting abilities while defeating waves of adventurers. Underworld Overseer is made up of 18 unique levels, each aimed to offer 20 to 25 minutes of strategic gameplay, but all that depends on how you're able to wrangle your literal demon spawns. Remember, the happier the minions, the happier the dungeon. For players looking for even more of a challenge, once they beat the game, there's an opportunity to play these 18 levels in a harder game mode. Can't wait to know more about Underworld Overseer? Check out their social media accounts on YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, and even LinkedIn. Don't forget to head over to the official Myron Games Discord server to stay in the loop and find out what's coming next, and wishlist the game on Steam VR. I put this one in here, Roots, because I like the art style of it. I think it's a cool looking little like diorama style tabletop game. And it's one of those old school god simulators, which you don't see very much in VR. Deism, the studio's other game, being one of the few that we've seen. But these are one of those old games like Populous or something that put you in command, and basically your main goal is to kind of grow your civilization. Only this civilization is demons and hellspawn in the underworld. I thought it had a cool visual art style, and that's mainly why I brought it here. Will it be fun to play in VR? Only time will tell.
Could be. Nah, it looks unique. What I was thinking is how cool it'd be if this whole concept was similar to what it is, except for you were a dungeon master and you were creating the world, and then you got to have players coming through and, you know, other real players,
Right,
and you got to
right.
control just like a real dungeon master would be in D&D, except for instead of, you know, reading through the script, you know, you get several different types of things. You could even pre-write something. I don't know. There's so many options. But I think this, for what it is unique. It's definitely, there's nothing, like you said, there's not anything like this, or not many things in VR. And this is a niche that isn't really represented very much in VR. So, cool. It's not my type of game, but I think it looks cool.
Right, exactly. That's exactly my thoughts on it. Like, I typically don't play these types of games, but I've said that a lot about certain genres in VR. But when I've gone into some of these games, like tower defense is a great example. Like, I never liked a tower defense game in my life before VR, and I've played a few good ones in VR. Like the Jenny and Thaco was a good one, and the what was that? Captain Toonhead's pretty good. There's a couple more. So that's another example how VR can take something that generally I find boring and make it into something fun.
Yeah, and for people that really do like the game, it's amazing, right? It's like you're in this game, that type of game that you like, but it's the underworld. It's pretty cool, different concept. So,
Radio Runt says purchase day one. Yeah, I thought you might be into this sort of deal, Radio Runt. That's why I said you're just in time.
yeah.
Looper points out Townsman VR is another good example. See, I've heard that Townsman VR is good. I've never played it.
I almost bought it. I almost bought it
Really?
back in the day because I watched Nathy play it on a YouTube video. I was like, oh, that looks
Really?
pretty cool, and then I just never did. So,
Yeah, I've never played it. It never looked like fun to me. It just didn't look good. People keep telling me it's good. I just I won't take their word for it.
dude, back in the day when I first got into VR, I wanted to play everything. Well, you know, I was like, dude, I got to play everything.
I remember.
And now I'm like, I'm so selective. It's just funny how things change. But this is the reality. Things should change. People change. You know, you get into things, the whole industry changes. And so I think it's a good change.
Mr. Lord Beavis says like that Neon game. Yeah, that Neon, I know what you're talking about. That game looks pretty cool too. What's it called? Neon. I gotta look it up now. It's gonna bother me.
Townsman VR, I could have sworn it wasn't on Steam as well back in the day. I'm sure the new Quest version, if it is Quest 3, I don't necessarily don't hate it. I just won't play it because I can't. I don't have Quest 3. I'm
Neon
not.
Squad Tactics is the name of the game. Neon Squad Tactics. It's like a
Okay.
Demio style game, but it has like this cyberpunk look to it. Looks pretty cool. Looper says Townsman VR is Quest 3 exclusive, so Roots must hate it.
Well, the one
that's not true, is it? That
not
can't be true.
not the original one. The original one was on Steam, I believe. It was the one that I remember Nathy playing back in the day.
Right. Yeah.
It's not on Quest 2 though. Yeah, that's a bummer. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's the reality, and I've told Wes this many times. I don't even care about the Quest platform. Like, literally, it's the very last platform I will ever play a game on, unless it's an exclusive to it. I'm going to go to PC first, then I'm going to go to PSVR 2, and then if I have to, I'll slum it with the Quest version. But it's just not my go-to. So there are some really good Quest games, but it's just when you have them, when I have a version. You know, it's like if you have a really good steakhouse and you're like, I can either go to this really good steakhouse and have a nice steak, or I can go to McDonald's and get not even going to slum it with a cheeseburger. I'm getting a Big Mac. Yeah, well, you're going to get cancer, bro. I'd rather get the steak, personally. So,
Ready to Run says Neon Squad Tactics is not great.
Ooh, that's not good.
No, not great is not good at
Yeah, that sucks.
all. Anyways, that is our wrap up. There was another game that I thought looked cool that I meant to put in here. It was the second title from 2080 Games. 2080 Games is Mike from VR Oasis publishing company.
What is it? What's the game of it? Our game.
Just a minute, I'll look it up. The first title that 2080 Games published is Miracle Pool.
Yeah.
The second title was, they had a cool looking teaser for it. What the fuck was the name? I'm gonna have to go to Upload VR to find out. I have a second here. I'll look it up. We don't know a lot, much about it. It was just had a cool trailer. All right, so let's go down the line here. Smash Drums, Micro, Laser Dance. MR Tech Demo, 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 App Lab, Simulator, Walkabout Mini Golf, App Lab, cool game, What the Bat, Memoreum. It was called Memoreum.
Memoreum?
Memoreum. Yeah, I can send you the link for the trailer if you want to see it. Link for the trailer is going up in the chat. Anybody who's interested. There it is. Just a quick reveal teaser, but it has a really cool, like, I don't know, like Dead Space vibe to it or something.
I don't have
I'm hearing mixed things about Metal Hellsinger, Mr. Lord Beavis. Oh, so you said the demo's good. Road to VR said it was almost good. And I've heard that from other people too. You want to go outside, Kitty? Here you go.
You guys don't want to watch George for talking about crypto. Maybe you do. It's not happening here.
Anyways, I'm not seeing what you're doing there. Are you trying to bring something up, or are we moving on here?
No. I had the trailer up there while you were talking about it for the game.
Okay, I didn't know. I can't see you.
Oh, that's right. No, yeah, no, we did it. We're done. Found it. Well, you linked it, so.
But no, I think this looks cool. I don't know much about it, other than Mike's company is the publisher, but it definitely has a cool vibe. Nobody did any kind of articles on it, so I assume that there was no like press release or anything from it.
But yeah, I think it looked.
One I've got my eyes on.
It looked cool, so hopefully we'll hear more.
Anyway, let's move on to the week's reminders. And typically we would start off by telling you all the cool stuff that's coming out this week. But guess what? Nothing cool is coming out this week. So we'll move right into the viewer comments. Starting with the VR Resistance, who says, I don't care about PCVR yet, but I'm mostly listening to this because Wes did the effort to have the show, even all by himself. Well, I appreciate you, VR Resistance, and I appreciate all of the comments. There was a ton of comments and Ruuts on the episode telling me that I did a great job. It was a good episode, and that makes me feel a lot better because I know it felt good, but I wasn't sure if it actually came out the way that it felt. So thank you, everyone who left a nice comment, and thank you, VR Resistance. I think it's interesting, Ruuts. He says he doesn't care about PCVR yet. Like he knows it's coming. Like he's gonna convert just like everyone else is converting over to PC. It's just not happened yet.
Yeah. Well, it's coming. I'll tell you what, it's PCVR is where it's at with the UEVR mod and other mods. Dee said she went into Ghost of Tsushima and said it was amazing.
Oh yeah? She like it? That's cool. Dude, we're so far behind on Luke Ross mods. Like all those fucking Far Cry games came out and now Ghost of Tsushima, and I haven't played any of that stuff. Just because anytime I have time to play a mod, I just go into UEVR and
So
push the
much
button.
easier. Yeah.
Yeah. Rickaron 7593 said, "What rig did you try playing Hellblade 2 with?" I've got a pretty strong rig, dude. I've got RTX 3080 Ti. I've got a Intel, I think it's a 12700
Okay. Yep.
K, and I've got 32 gigabytes DDR5. I don't remember what the megahertz are on it, but it's something like 6,000 megahertz, super fast RAM.
Yeah.
I've got a strong like 360 millimeter like all-in-one Corsair liquid cooler on it. Like, I've got 6 case fans or 7. I got 7 case fans in a big case that's all glass on all sides. So like there's gaps for air to come in and out of. Like, it's well cooled, it's powerful, but Hellblade's just a little too much for me anyway.
I was gonna go try it, and then I was like, it's not. We don't have it on the account. I'm assuming is it on you have on your personal one, right?
I don't know. Did I do that? I don't think so.
And maybe I just didn't see it. I was gonna try it before the show.
No. I remember what it was. It was I played it on Game Pass.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, yeah, and I specifically said I wasn't really that interested in getting it, so we didn't pick it up. But if I had Game Pass, I was gonna try it because just to see how it would run on mine. I didn't see
it on Steam.
I didn't see it in his library when I looked at it. Maybe I just skipped over it because I was looking for Virtual Strangers.
Yeah, that could be it. I didn't look for it. He said that he picked it up though, so it's probably in there.
Yeah, I don't see it in there.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he's a liar.
I doubt that. I don't think he's a liar, but maybe I'm looking in the wrong spot. That's more likely. I'll lean towards that. But yeah, no. Anyway.
Anyway, that's what I tried to run it on. If it was a case of where it was almost playable but running poorly, I might try to optimize and get it to run. But it wasn't almost playable. It was a slideshow. Like, it didn't crash. It did not crash. It ran, but it was not playable. It was just like I might have been getting like 5 FPS or something. It was something stupid.
That's crazy. How was it? I'm just kidding. It was probably a shit, huh?
Angus Cunningham 512 just started playing Still Wakes the Deep.
Ooh.
The Game Pass version, and it is amazing with UEVR. Still messing around with the settings, but it just highlights that it's crying out for a full VR release with proper object interactivity. We got, I don't know, another 2 or 3 more comments on this, Ruuts. People saying that Still Wakes the Deep works in UEVR, and it's a pretty awesome experience.
What type of game is it? Is that one
It's that walking sim we talked about. We covered it on the show here the week before it launched. It is on Game Pass.
Yeah, it I remember it. I remember the name sounding like something we wanted to go into. We should check it out. I don't understand exactly what proper object I mean, I do. I do understand what you mean by that. I just it'll be nice when we get to that point. At this point, I just want good games. I don't care about proper object interactivity. If it's good enough to play, being able to play it in VR is amazing. And then down the road, it's kind of like what you said about physics with Riven. Like and having your hand go through stuff. Do we want that? No, but it's fine. It is what it is, and it just being in that world and being able to actually play it. And of course, it's a little bit different of an example because that's like legit full VR. But I'd rather be in the world and experience it and not be able to properly interact with objects at this stage than to not have it at all. So
Fluke Rogi says, "What's a niggle? I laughed too much.
Mhm.
Two countries separated by a common language, indeed." And I did say niggle. It's niggle.
Yeah. See, and the to me, I don't even hear any closeness because of the L.
Right.
But I definitely, yeah, you got to be careful out there.
It was a funny moment. It was a funny moment, as Vargel points out in the next comment. I had to bail out of the show last night, but if it didn't get pointed out in chat, niggle is a perfectly cromulent English word meaning a trivial criticism, discomfort, or annoyance. So thank you for that
Yeah,
definition.
I appreciate it. I still think it's a weird word, but I mean,
It is
you
kind of
know,
weird. It's a little weird. Makes
yeah.
me feel weird to say it. So I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, I don't. People get a little weirded out when you say niggle for some reason.
Moy Bus PM says, "Anyone know? I have a Quest 3 and wanted to get a laptop for around $1,000. Will a 4060 i7 be good enough to run high-end VR? Maybe not ultra settings, but high? Thank you so much to anyone that responds." Corporate Zombie did respond and said, and let him know that laptop GPUs are usually not the same as a desktop in terms of specs. So be careful. It depends on what you mean by high end. If you mean forcing flat games into VR using UEVR, then probably not. But if you're thinking Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, then probably not. And then he goes on to say, "Well, thank you for replying. I'm totally ignorant to PCs. I'm not ignorant to VR. I've had Quest 1, 2, and 3. I just don't know anything about PC, and I'm trying to learn. It's confusing with the number system NVIDIA has. Like, I found out the newer 4060 is worse than the 3080, which to me you'd think the higher number with the newer GPU would be better. Could you recommend a gaming laptop that's no more than $1,200 that can run mid to high VR?" Well, first of all, with the naming structure of the NVIDIA graphics cards, the first two numbers, 30, 40, 20, 10, that's just the generation. 10 was well, we'll call it the first generation. It's actually the second, but we'll call 10 the first generation, 20 the second generation, 30 the third generation, and 40 the most current generation. The last two numbers indicate which tier of graphics card you're getting. 90 being the highest tier, and typically 50, sometimes lower than 50, but typically 50 being the lowest. And the way it typically works is one generation's 80 will be the next generation's 70. So a 3080 or a 4060 would be like a 3050. A 3080 would be a 2070 or a you know, and so on. Roots, they're asking, you know, will a $1,200 gaming laptop play mid to high VR? I'd say mid. It probably would. My question would be, why does it need to be a laptop?
Right. That would be my
Why can't
first
you get
thing is if it doesn't need
Yeah.
to be a laptop, I would steer away from it because laptops are just not like, you're just going to get lost. Well, for one, you can't change anything in it. That's one of the things I like about computers is like you could get a computer today. Like my first gaming computer I bought was from Dell. It was from Dell, had a good processor, and the video card was decent. I think it was Dell, or maybe it was HP, or whatever it was. I think it was HP. And I just replaced the video card and put a really good card in there, and then bam, you know. But it's just crazy.
Yeah. So if I had $1,200 to build a VR computer right now, I'm building a desktop, and I'm starting by spending half of that money and buying a 4070. You can get a 4070 for $600 to $650. It has like 12 gigabytes of VRAM in it. pretty close to the 3080 Ti that I have in my computer right now for about $600. You take the rest of that, you put 200 to 250 in your processor, and then take the remaining $450 to build out the rest of it. You're going to get significantly more performance for that $1,200 in a desktop than you would a laptop, and you're going to be set up to upgrade pieces of it over time instead of being locked in to the package that is your laptop. If you're afraid that you can't build it, yes, you can. It's not that hard. I didn't know anything about building a computer when I decided to get my first one. I decided that I was going to learn how to build it and save myself $300 or $400 versus buying a pre-built with the same specs. The biggest difference between a laptop and a desktop, other than the one that CZ already pointed out, a 4060 laptop is not the same as a 4060 in a desktop. The biggest reason for that is because in a laptop, you're limited with your cooling solutions and you're limited with your power supply. Where the desktop, you can, fully cool it and get the most performance out of it. You can give it all the power it needs. That's not the case in laptops, and that's why they're more limited. If it has to be a laptop, then I would say yes, a 4060 laptop will run most native VR games on like medium settings. Just an estimation. I don't have one. But I would highly recommend, unless there's some reason that you have to have a laptop, I would highly recommend just getting a desktop PC instead. Anyway, my 2 cents.
Oh wow.
Let's see.
My chat just reset. I was like, man, nobody's talking for a long time, and all of a sudden there was like 30 things on there.
Most people in the chat are agreeing. Nathan says he paid $1,800 for his, and it's a beast. Well, yeah, that extra $600 goes a long way.
Right, and so at 1,200 is going to be hard to do it with what everything you just listed, just because you don't want to skimp on the power supply, which is what most people want to do. That's the worst thing you can do. And like Wes always said, you want to get at least a mid-level board, right? So, and then the keyboard mouse you could probably get pretty cheap.
Yeah, I always $20 for a set keyboard mouse set that I use. $20.
Yeah, my mouse is.
I don't get.
I think your mouse is like $80 or something because it's for gaming. But if you just need a regular mouse, you don't. I mean, what you said is perfect. So
$20 Logitech comes in one box at Walmart,
and they work well. They're really good. For they've fine-tuned keyboards and mouse. So.
Backsorn says thoughts on Somnium VR headsets. I really don't have many thoughts on those. Like, I typically don't pay attention to things that are either like far out of the mainstream, that are like intended to be for business and educational use, and I don't pay attention to stuff that's going to be way out of my price range. Like Vario, for example. I have no opinion on Vario. I don't think about it because there's no way I would ever buy it. Somnium, I'm just not really all that familiar with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm like you. I don't think I'd end up buying a Somnium anyway. I'm more apt to go with like a Valve headset or something. Who knows? I am like you. I'm really not looking to upgrade my headset. I'm happy with my headset. I'm sure newer ones will come out, and then I'll be interested. But right now, I just
Yeah, my Quest 3 did well just with a generic wired link yesterday. I was quite happy with it. I didn't have any jank or anything, and I was streaming on top of it.
That's really good.
Yeah. I'll take it back. There was some weirdness. The first time I loaded into the game, there was some weirdness with the shadows, but I don't know if that was the game or the headset. I rebooted the game and it worked fine. So
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, that is our viewer comments for the week. That brings us to the part of the show where we ask all of you to please take a moment and do your part to support the VR game devs out there, the same starving artists that we were talking about just a few minutes ago, having to release their game earlier than they want so that they don't starve. Maybe we don't want to give them our money up front. But what we can all do is go and wishlist their game. That actually makes quite a big deal to a lot of these studios. And that's the reason why you hear them say it so much. So please join us now as we all go together and wishlist the game. There's no question, Ruuts, what I'm wishlisting this week. And that is Escaping Wonderland from Cortopia Studios.
I have to agree.
It's awesome. And definitely putting this one on my wish list.
It does look awesome.
Absolutely. And the first one was cool. I expect this one to be even better. So yeah, everyone let us know what you wish listed, please, in the comments down below. And thanks to everyone who participated. Looper says the wishlist Arcade Paradise. Yeah, it's coming soon to PSVR. It probably is up for a wish list now. So everyone can go wish list that one too if they would like. I thought about doing them all, Ruuts. But then I thought, you know what? We don't need to wish list them all in 1 week. Then we'll run out of shit to wish list.
Yeah, plus then you all have I have so many things I need to. I wish it would like somehow on the wish list things. I have to go back and take some of these things off after I've played them. They've been out for a while.
Yeah. I wish there was a setting that you could tell it to unwish list
After
games when they launch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or a week after or something, or
right. Because
Mr. Lord Beavis says he's going to wish
or
list.
At least when you get games in your library, they should come off of your wish list.
That should happen. That should be automatic. Like, why are you keeping this on the list? But then there'd be some neurotic person that like adds every game that they buy to the wish list, and like, you fucking took it off. I want it on there.
Right. I wanted it on there for a reason. Remind me how much I wanted having it. Anyways, yeah, I think that's our show. It brings us to our last reminder this week and every week, and that is how you can support us, our channel, and our community. Of course, if you haven't by now, why haven't you subscribed? Like, I really don't get it. You're watching, you're enjoying the content. The content. No, you can't tell me you're not. We're good. We
2 hours 50 minutes in, and you're just now not. You're like, oh, I'm not subscribed.
Oh, yeah, I don't like it. I don't think I like it enough to click the red button. It's a click, dude. You just click to wish list some bullshit indie game. You won't click subscribe? Like, come on.
Yeah, what is wrong with you? And give a like as well, because that does help the algorithm and the comments. Everything you guys do helps. So
everything helps. Clicks, they help us just like they help the developers. I think I'm going to replace the wish list segment Ruuts with the subscribe and comment section.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, screw those devs. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway, those of you good people out there, the good people we love that subscribe to our show, we get that you might want to do a little something more. And you can. You can support us on Patreon, where for as little as $3 per month, you'll gain access to our weekly show notes, insider updates, exclusive content, and more. You'll also get our eternal gratitude for allowing us to be able to do things that we typically would not otherwise be able to do. Giveaways, covering flat games. You know, we cover a lot of flat games now, and that's only because of our donations. Like, if it weren't for your donations, we would probably pretty much just be modding Game Pass games all the time. But we don't have to do that. We can buy the games that you want to see us cover because you pay for them. So thank you, all of you out there who joined the Patreon, all of you who leave super chats, everyone who donates. We appreciate you very much. You guys are awesome.
Yep.
Nathan says, I'm subscribed. Love this chill ass stream. Well, we love you too, Nathan. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
If you can't afford to support us on Patreon, we get it. Things are expensive. Money is tight these days. That's why it is 100% free to join the Virtual Strangers Discord. That's where we hang out 24/7, 365. We are around. Even when we're not here, Roots, we're off for a week. We're still reading people's comments, lurking in the background, right? We're omnipresent in the Virtual Strangers Discord.
Absolutely. You know who's not super tight?
My mom!
Oh, man. I tried to warn her, but she didn't listen, Wes.
Yeah, that's how you learn, I guess.
That's how you learn.
Anyway, we hang out on Patreon all the time. Or not Patreon, but Discord all the time. We had a police chase go off just a few minutes ago.
I did. I saw that. I saw the notification. I was so tempted to click into it, and I had to like slap my hand. Roots, you're fucking doing a show, bro. You're not watching a police chase.
Yeah, no, right? I know. It was an inopportune moment for something that does happen from time to time on our Discord. We all get together and watch poor people run from the authorities.
Oh, there's nothing better. They took away cops from us. We had to get it from somewhere.
That's right. Anyway, hit us up on Discord. You'll be greeted at the door, I assure you. And with that said, friends, that's our show. I'd like to thank you all once again for watching. For Roots, I'm Wes. We'll see you Saturday. Bye.
Take it easy.